Pull up that easy chair and sit right down for the best music in your town.
Here on Wayback with Johnny. Now don't turn that dial. The program's about to begin.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Horseshoe with Stompin Tom Connors.
Heave high, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Big Joe Mufferaw paddled into Mattawa all the way from Ottawa in just one day. Big size, French fries, how they love tomatoes. So dress them up with Heinz ketchup loves potatoes. But the spud from the bright red mud, rolling down the highway smiling. The spuds are big on the back of Bud's rig. They're from Prince Edward Island.
Hello friends and listeners of Way Back with Johnny. This here is your old host with most country western music and bluegrass music, Johnny Whitlock. For the next 2 hours, I'd like to invite y'all in to a 3-hour celebration to the life and memories of Stompin Tom Connors, the greatest pioneer and patriot Canada has ever known in the country music scene. Tomorrow would have marked Stompin Tom's 90th birthday, so let's travel back to the good old days of Canadian country music here on CFRC 119 FM and also www.oshawarocks.com as we remember the truest and the most patriotic man that Canada has ever known. Welcome in, friends, and happy birthday, Tom.
And 19 men were drowned, and the medical corps couldn't be too sore of the rest of the men they found. Bunkhouse floor, if it gets a little chilly, you can close the door. Tilsonburg. It was Tilsonburg. My back still aches when I hear that word. You've heard my answer. It's one I hope you'll understand. It's just my way of kind of saying thank you to the people of this land. And it doesn't matter really where you're from, you can spread the word around. Wherever you find a heart that's kind, you're in a part of my stomping ground.
Well, really, it's Canada that still has the stories that should be told, and lots of them, for now and for always.
Hello friends and listeners of Way Back with Johnny. This here is your old host with most country western music, Johnny Whitlock. The next program is dedicated to the man we all remember as Charles Thomas Connors, forever beloved as Stompin Tom, who would have celebrated his 90th birthday tomorrow. On February the 9th, 1936, he was born, passing away on March 6, 2013, at the age of 77. Even though Tom has been gone for several years, his memory and his legacy still live on in all us, his loyal fans, and also true Canadians. With that, this one is dedicated to the fans, both past, present, and yet to come. Happy birthday, Stompin Tom, and we sure miss you. And now, if you will join me, I'd like to open with the Canadian national anthem, O Canada, as we celebrate the man, the myth, the legend, and the forever pioneer of Canadian country music, Stompin Tom Connors.
It makes me feel proud to know that I have used my songwriting ability not only to my own advantage, but also to the advantage of many Canadians who might not otherwise have had songs written about their towns, their history, their jobs, their Canadian way of life.
Well, yes, friends, following the national anthem of Canada, we are once again back here on the Way Back with Johnny show. We are still coming to you via the Woodlock Ranch and Studios in Cornwall, Ontario, and also via our home for the last 10 years over CFRC 119 FM from the heart of the limestone city of Kingston, Ontario, Canada. You can also hear us over the internet at www.oshawarocks.com in the Greater Toronto Area, as well as worldwide at Way Back with Johnny Woodlock on YouTube. YouTube. As I invite y'all into this program today, I would like to share that tomorrow marks what would mark the 90th birthday of Stompin Tom Connors, a true pioneer of Canadian country music and a true patriot of Canada. He is born Charles Thomas Connors on February the 9th, 1936 in St. John, New Brunswick, to a single mother, Isabel Connors. Having been taken from her at a very young age and being forced to move to Skinner's Pond, Prince Edward Island, where he lived with his foster and adopted parents. He would pass away at the age of 77 on March 6, 2013. However, during his time here, he would become an icon of Canadian music and one of the most beloved pioneers. Now, it wasn't until Canada Day 1967 that he would coin the name Stompin Tom, and that would be given to him by Boyd MacDonald at the old King George Tavern in Peterborough, Ontario. And today, I would like to remember him, the true patriot that Stompin Tom was, and a true folk singer in many ways, with many of his classics. First of all, we're going to pay tribute to an all-time classic by Freddie Dixon out of the Ottawa Valley called Ballad of Stompin Tom. Then we'll follow with Tom himself and one of the most patriotic songs he ever wrote about Canada called Believe in Your Country. With that, I'd like to wish you all a happy day and also welcome you all to this, our 90th anniversary of the birth of Stompin Tom Connors. Welcome in, friends, and happy birthday, Tom.
Now here's a story that I'd like to tell about a poor country boy that sure done well. Never once did his hat band swell, and that man is Stompin Tom Connors. Well, he left his home at the age of 13, a tall, lanky kid like a long string bean. Holes in his pockets and holes in his socks, took on the job at the waterfront docks. Now Tom wasn't much to staying around or settling down any one town, 'cause the whole of Canada was his stomping ground, and by golly, he wanted to see it. With his buddy Steve Foot and his guitar in hand, he thumbed his way across this land, riding the rails and hitching them trucks, living kind of lean on a lot of good luck. Then one day, back in '64, he got stuck in Timmins with the wolf at his door. Stopped at the Maple Leaf for 3 or 4. Had 35 cents, but needed 5 cents more. Well, the barman looked Tom's guitar, and he could tell by their looks they'd traveled far. Said with a smile, I set the beer in the bar, "You play me a couple of songs." Well, the boss, he liked what Tom was singing, and the people and money that Tom was bringing. Tom stayed on and on and on, not bad for a country singer. With a stomping board, played them all from the Horseshoe Tavern down to Massey Hall. And he might be coming your way this fall, and I sure hope that you don't miss him. So when you're driving or listening to your radio, you hear songs like Bud the Spud or Mufferaw Joe. The songs about Canada, they're on the go, and they're sung by Stompin Tom Connors. So I wish him well, and I wish him the best, for he's paid his dues more times than the rest. He's a hell of a man, he stood the test. He's my good friend, Stompin Tom Connors. So I wish him well, I wish him the best, for he's paid his dues more times than the rest. He's a hell of a man, he stood the test. He's my good friend, Stompin Tom Connors. Tom Connors, Tom Connors, Tom Connors.
With a guitar under one arm and his stomping board under the other, here's Stompin Tom Connors.
Goodbye, Jim and Jackie. Goodbye, John and May. We hate to see you leaving, bound for the USA. But if you don't believe your country should come before yourself, You can better serve your country by living somewhere else. I know the times are changing, factories closing down, but if you stay and help us, we can turn these things around. But if you don't believe your country should come before yourself, you can better serve your country by living somewhere else. And while our politicians divide our precious land, we speak in French and English, but they still don't understand. If you don't believe your country should come before yourself, you can better serve your country by living somewhere else. Short on heroes, they trade our jobs away, and we don't need no zeros to come and help us save the day. So if you don't believe your country should come before yourself, you can better serve your country by living somewhere else. And if you should find your heaven where stars and stripes are flown, you'll learn to stand more proudly than you ever stood back home. And they'll tell you that your country must come before yourself, or you'll have to serve your country by living somewhere else. So goodbye Jim and Jackie, goodbye John and May. We hope that you'll be happy living in the USA. 'Cause if you don't believe your country should come before yourself, you can better serve your country by living somewhere else. If you don't believe your country should come before yourself, you can better serve your country by living somewhere else.
I only wish that we as a country were not as exploited the way we are. Canada's for the Canadians, and not just the Canadians that are living in it today, but all the Canadians throughout the years, the unborn Canadians. What will those Canadians think of Canada in their day? Will they be thankful to us, or will they just say that we're a bunch of stupid, egotistical idiots? What will they say about it?
Well, yes, friends, following those classics by Stompin Tom and Freddie Dixon, we're once again back here on the Wayback with Johnny show here on CFRC and www.oshawarocks.com. With that mentioned, I'd like to send out a song to my beloved Mama Dawn today. And it's going to be a classic by one of Stompin Tom's early influences, Hank Snow. And even though Tom and Hank knew each other, they never got along, so the stories go in Tom's two books. With that mentioned, it's going to be a song by Hank Snow called My Mother, and dates back to 1945. Then we'll follow with one of the truest friends Stompin Tom had in the music world, who also was not only a friend but a second father figure to Tom Connors. That, of course, is Welf Carter. So from Welf, we'll hear a song called My Nova Scotian Home, and we'll send this out to all the listeners down east, especially Peter and Myrna Trenholm in Pugwash, Nova Scotia. And then we'll hear a Stompin Tom classic that was released on a private label in 1965 under the name Tom Connors. It'll be a song called Move On to Ruan, and that, as mentioned, was on a private label, CKGB, in 1965, long before Tom Connors ever adopted the name Stompin Tom. With that, welcome in, friends, and happy listening.
There are friends who will want you, but just for a day. There are pals you think true, but they'll cast you away. But there's one loving soul, boys, I'll sure recommend. Through this old world of sorrow, she'll be true till the end. Mother, though her hands are all wrinkled and old, Mother, silver hair that has lost all the gold. You left her alone, went to roam through the years, but all that you left her was heartaches and tears. So kiss her old brow, whisper softly and true, Mother, you're just an angel, but I love you. On the door of a cottage, a wreath sadly hung, and a hearse stood there waiting as the choir softly sung. There were flowers in their beauty, and the old parson prayed. This was the last tribute as they left for her grave. She won't meet you tonight, son, when you crave her caress. She has reared you to manhood, and now you've laid her to rest. Those flowers in their beauty, to her they're unknown, 'cause tonight she's with the angels up around the great throne. So don't wait that late, son, to try and repay. Give those flowers and give those treasures and give them today. Let her know that you love her and to show her that you care, 'cause she's your mother, God love her, she's as true as a prayer. So kiss her old brow, whisper softly and true, Mother, you're just an angel, but I love you.
When the golden sun is setting on my Nova Scotian home, then I think of apple blossoms and the girl I left alone. But at last I'm going home to stay and never more to roam. Take me back to Annapolis Valley and my Nova Scotian home. For I'm blue for my blue eyes tonight, and I'm blue for the starlight so bright, hey, hey. And I'm blue for the one I left alone. Yes, I'm blue for my Nova Scotian home. Take me back to Nova Scotia, let me live forevermore, way down by the great Atlantic in my home along the shore. When it's springtime in the valleys where the apple blossoms blow, take me back to Nova Scotia, my home of long ago. For I'm blue for my blue eyes tonight, I sure am, honey. I'm blue for the starlight so bright. Yes, I'm blue for the one I left alone. Hey, I am blue for my Nova Scotian home. Going back to Nova Scotia, that is where I long to be. That is where they fish for tuna in the rough Atlantic Sea. Sweet perfume from apple blossoms lingers in its fragrant air. Going back to Nova Scotia, to the one that I left there. I'm coming, honey, for I'm blue for my blue eyes tonight. I sure am. I'm blue for the starlight so bright. Yes, I'm blue for the one I left alone. Hey, hey, man, I'm blue for my Nova Scotian home. Let's do it again. For I'm blue for my blue eyes tonight, and I'm blue for the starlight so bright. Yes, I am blue for the one I left alone. Hey, hey, man, and I'm blue for my Nova Scotian home.
The day I left Kirkland, my girl's head was circling. I left her with only one shoe on. My baby in larder, she may take it harder, 'cause I've got a new one in Rouen. I've got a new one in Rouen. I'm a honky-tonk player just drifting along. I move like a leaf blowing blue on. I'll love you tonight and I'll hold you so tight. Tomorrow I'll move on the Rouen. Tomorrow I'll move on the Rouen. Tonight if I gamble, tomorrow I'll ramble. I'm a captain that don't take no crew on. Goodbye to my Shirley, she's been a cute girlie, but I've got a new one in Rouen. I've got a new one in Rouen. I'm a honky-tonk player just drifting along. I move like a leaf blowing blue on. I'll love you tonight and I'll hold you so tight. Tomorrow I'll move on the Rouen. Tomorrow I'll move on the Rouen. Now love is a stranger, to some it's a danger. To me it ain't nothing to stew on. I'll play with your curls and I'll call you my girl, but I've got a new one in Rouen. I've got a new one in Rouen. I'm a honky-tonk player just drifting along. I move like a leaf blowing blue on. From Kirkland to Larder, through B-Town and farther, I've just got to move on the Rouen. 'Cause I've got a new one in Rouen. So I'm gonna move on the Rouen. 'Cause I've got a new one in Rouen.
Well, the Maritimes. On the farm there, with nothing much to think about except a simple life. Well, radio was a big source of entertainment for us, and I used to listen to old Hank Snow and Wolf Carter on the radio when I was a kid, and this is how I had the desire. I always wanted to grow up and, do what they did.
That big eight-wheeler rolling down the track means your true loving daddy ain't coming back, 'cause I'm moving on.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Roger Snow, son of country legend Hank Snow. By the way, you're listening to Wayback with my good friend Johnny Woodlock.
You stayed away too long. I'm through with you, too bad you're blue, keep moving on.
Well, now, friends, it's once again that time in the program where I like to pay tribute to the Ottawa Valley and the Valley Legends. However, with this being a tribute to the 90th birthday of Stompin Tom Connors, Canada's country king, I would like to once again pay tribute and replace the Ottawa Valley segment here this morning with continuing this tribute to Stompin Tom. First, I would like to also make mention that Tom recorded his first full-length album in 1967 as The Northern Zone, and it was released in 1967 on Rebel Records. Now, first of all, we're going to pay tribute to a collection of songs taken off the original LP record. First signature song we're going to hear from was a signature song that he recorded back in 67 with a much lower beat, but would become much faster as the years went on. And it was also a song that he would record many times over, but also perform to the day he died. That, of course, is Sudbury Saturday Night, his signature song. Then we'll follow with one of my all-time favorites off this early album called Emily the Maple Leaf, and we'll wrap up with none other than Little Wah Wah, but truly showed his early way of writing the history books of Canadian country music and history. With that, it should also be mentioned that this album is the only album where Stompin Tom is not pictured with his signature black hat, and it also is the same year, 1967 as mentioned, that on Canada Day of that year, Boyd MacDonald at the King George Tavern in Peterborough would coin the name Stompin and add it to the name Tom Connors, making Tom forever known as Stompin Tom Connors. Welcome in, friends, and happy listening.
girls are out to bingo and the boys are getting stinko. We think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. The glasses, they will tinkle when our eyes begin to twinkle, and we think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. With Irish Jim O'Connell there and Scotty Jack McDonnell, there's honky Frederick Hertel getting tight, but that's alright. There's happy German Fritzy there with Frenchie getting tipsy, and even Joe the Gypsy knows it's Saturday tonight. Now when Mary Ann and Mabel come to join us at the table and tell us how the bingo went tonight, we'll look a fright. But if they won the money, we'll be lapping up the honey, boys, 'cause everything is funny, for it's Saturday tonight. Yeah, the girls are out to bingo and the boys are getting stinko. We think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. The glasses, they will tinkle when our eyes begin to twinkle, and we think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. We'll drink the loot we borrowed and recuperate tomorrow, 'cause everything is wonderful tonight. We had a good fight. We ate the dilly pickle and we forgot about the nickel, and everybody's tickled, for it's Saturday tonight. The songs that we'll be singing, they might be wrong, but they'll be ringing when all the lights of town are shining bright and we're all tight. We'll get to work on Monday, but tomorrow's only Sunday, and we're out to have a fun day, for it's Saturday tonight. Yeah, the girls are out to bingo and the boys are getting stinko. We think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. The glasses, they will tinkle when our eyes begin to twinkle, and we think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. We think no more of Inco on a Sudbury Saturday night. Emily the maple leaf lived with her family high upon the maple tree. Her sisters and her brother leaves and all of the other leaves used to laugh at Emily. Everything that they said used to turn her face red, just as red can be. But even when she felt bad, she would never look sad. She took it all so cheerfully. Then one day the leaves all say Emily was taken far away. She was picked while playing tag, and she was put on Canada's flag. Emily the maple leaf never now could prouder be, waving o'er the nation wide. Just to see her when she flips on the masts of mighty ships, Emily will stir your pride. All of us, we love her, there is none above her, blowing in the breeze so free. Her sisters and her brother leaves and all of the other leaves, we shout forever Emily. She's our way to live each day in city style or country way. From the valleys green to the mountains crag, here's to Emily, Canada's flag. Emily the maple leaf stands for the harmony we share alike from sea to sea. For this our fathers sighed for, lived and loved and died for, and we'll preserve it constantly. Where leaves are bound together, we're Emily's forever, we're all for one with each for all. Our sisters and our brother leaves and all of the other leaves, will never let the red leaf fall. Here we stand, all hand in hand, O Canada, we're at your command. So let not one be found to lag, where Emily waves on Canada's flag. Little wah wah, little wah wah, little
from the Southland flew in a V-shaped flock of wild geese with her lover Gander Goo, her lover Gander Goo. They flew across North Michigan to see the sights below, 'cause they were on their honeymoon to North Ontario, to North Ontario. Honk, honk, said little wah-wah, honk, honk, my gander goo. In goose talk that means I love you, and I always will be true, I always will be true. Little wah-wah, little wah-wah. The night was fast approaching, a dreadful hissing sound. 'Twas an arrow from an Indian bow, and Gander Goo shot down, Gander Goo fell down. The wild geese kept on flying, but Wah-Wah would not go. She stayed to find her lover in the bushland far below, in the bushland far below. Honk, honk, said little Wah-Wah, honk, honk, my gander goo. In goose talk that means I love you, and I always will be true, I always will be true. Little Wah-Wah, little Wah-Wah. A goose that died of heartbreak, a legend she became, but now she'll live forever in a town that bears her name, a town that bears her name. If you should see her statue on Highway 17, you'll know that you're in Wah-Wah, and her love song you will sing, her love song you will sing. Honk, honk, said little Wah-Wah, honk, honk, my gander goo. In goose talk that means I love you, and I always will be true, I always will be true. Little Wah-Wah, little Wah-Wah, little Wah-Wah.
I was short a nickel for a bottle of beer in the Maple Leaf Hotel in Timmins, and the waiter said that if I took out my guitar and sang a few tunes that he'd give me all the beer I could drink. So needless to say, that night, after a few songs later, I didn't remember too much about going to bed, but anyway, they put me up in the Maple Leaf there and gave me a job for $35 a week, and I was there for 14 months.
Well, now, friends, it's once again that time in the program to keep with the tradition of the Wayback program. And with that mentioned, I have a collection of special guests on the show today to commemorate the 90th birthday of Stompin Tom Connors, the king of Canadian country music. With that mentioned, this first guest can take us all the way back to the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto, Ontario. And this first guest is also a true musical treasure in Canadian country music, having performed and played with some of the greatest, including Stompin Tom. With that mentioned, I'd like to welcome a very special guest of honor onto the program today that can also take us back to the early days of Tom Connors' career, and that is none other than Mickey Andrews, the man responsible for the original steel guitars on such classics as Bud the Spud, Margot's Cargo, and many others. Please welcome to the show today a true friend of mine and a legendary pioneer of Canadian country music, Mr. Mickey Andrews. Now, following this interview with Mickey, we will play an all-time classic, which I understand he is the one that played that Sound of the Cow as heard on Margot's Cargo. Let's turn back the years and remember the old Horseshoe Tavern with an updated interview with my good friend, Mickey Andrews of Toronto. Hello, Mickey. How are you today?
I'm okay.
That's good. So, how did you first meet Tom?
When he was at the Matador, I didn't meet him. I saw him singing.
Okay.
It's a club run by a college in the college in Davenport area in Toronto.
Yes.
An after-hours club that would go from midnight till early in the morning kind of thing. And I was generally playing. When we played the Horseshoe, there was a room called the NB's Nashville Room. That was the people that played in the Horseshoe. They would go to that club afterwards.
Yes.
A lot of these guys, the Nashville Stars had their own bands.
Yes, of course.
But what happened when they came in, there was lots of singles like Bobby Bear and Ferlin Husky and different people like that, and we would back them up. But if they come in and they needed a steel player, I got the job. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I could play drums, so I was.
You could sit in with the other bands.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. They would fit me if they, if they wanted me. I mean, they were stuck with us, but if they would ask us if we wanted to play. You know what I mean?
I see. Yes.
It was fun. They were all really nice people that came. And
who would some of your most iconic or most favorite singers have been to perform with besides Tom?
Lucille Starr was a powerful entertainer. Besides Stompin Tom, who ended up being the best one of them all.
Yes.
But for pure, where the value that he gave his audience, like
exactly,
they loved him, and he had all ages, and he crossed everything. You'd never know who was coming to see Stompin Tom.
Well, that's what I always found would bring in, like I told you, he could bring in a 3-year-old child, or he could bring in a 102-year-old person. It didn't matter.
Right.
He had the drawing crowd.
But he what was smart about him when people came to the Horseshoe.
Yes.
If you looked out, you would see beer on all the tables, hoping that he would come to their seat.
Okay. Yes.
And when he was a great listener, like he would listen to what they're telling him, and they'd talk, what they did, and he learned about, what they did for work, and like I said, picking tobacco or potatoes and all different kinds, and about ketchup and all that kind of stuff.
And then he went on to make songs about these stories that
he made songs about them, but he got them to talk about themselves.
Amazing. Yeah.
I never noticed it because a few times I would be invited over, and I'd sit and listen to him, what he's saying. And not only that, when we were on tour, part of the tour was, after the show was over, he was signing autographs for hours.
I know when I met him, he wasn't able to come out. I seen him about 4 or 5 times, but this was much later into his career. But he wouldn't ever come out and see us. But I know my dad, he said that him and Tom were just talking back in the 70s like you or I or whoever.
Okay, the reason for that, it would be the union, like when we were finished playing. If that didn't happen, it was because they wanted to close the place down.
Oh, okay, yes.
That's the reason. Like we played in Kings. Yeah, I forget the name of the place. It was a rock and something or something.
K-Rock Center in 2011.
That's where we played. He would tailor some of the songs to where he would be playing. He'd always sing the same songs, like his major songs.
Yes.
But he would always have a song for where he would be, like even playing in Quebec, like or Montreal.
Exactly.
He'd sing something like some kind of something
like
Frenchy.
Fleur de Lis or what have you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. At one point, he had a flag that we would take the first time. In the second time around, when we did the 1990 tour, he'd have that Fleur de Lis on the flag.
Oh, is that right? Yes. I see.
It's little things that he took care of. Like he was a really smart guy.
Yes, he was. Yes. I wish I had have been able to mate him, but I never was. But I've been to the gravesite.
Yes, that's up in, he lived in Ballantyne, by the way.
Yes.
Erin is where the gravesite is.
That's right. So let's go back to some of those recordings of Bud the Spud and that. I know you also played on them. What were those sessions like?
Okay, there's a big difference in that first session, the way we did the session in 1990.
Okay.
When he did his return. The first session, we went into a small studio. And this is before Yuri Krychuk, that there might be mixed up here with people that want to know about that. We got a studio, rehearsed what he wanted to do. It's his Bud the Spud album, potatoes on the front of it and all that.
Yes.
And we did mostly his hits, like Sudbury Saturday Night and all that stuff. TCC Skedaddler.
Luke's Guitar and Rubberhead.
Luke's Guitar, Rubberhead, and all that stuff. Yeah. We did that. It was just 3 of us on it. And I just overdubbed. I overdubbed a little. If they wanted a little bit of drums, I'd put it in there.
Okay.
Or dobro kind of thing. And I used a lot of sound effects on the steel guitar. It's like recorded like in 1990 before we went on the road. And it was about a cow dung clock.
Yes.
A crazy little song.
Exactly. But a clever song.
He wanted me to make it. Guitar sound like a cow, like moo, like a.
Yes. So that was you, wasn't it, Mickey?
Yeah.
Amazing.
The bottom string on your guitar, you just draw it in. The sound effects are the easiest things to do on a steel guitar. You can do train sounds quite easy. it's like that. I know Hank Snow used a lot of trading sounds.
Yes, he did. He was another one of my favorites. So back to the sessions of the early sessions. What were they like?
When we went in the room, we were all in the room. It's like when you're in Nashville recording. You're in one room. They let everything bleed through, all the music. Stompin' Tom's got his boards. And when we did it, we did the session within 3 hours. Stompin' Tom, he really wanted to get the sound of the board right.
Okay.
You know, because he wanted, because his name.
Because that was his signature sound, exactly.
His signature sound. So once we got that set, we just rolled through and we just did one tune after the other. It was almost like it was live.
Okay,
but
yes.
It wasn't, you know, there was no audience there, but it was live.
But it was right off the ground. It wasn't like today where it's pieced here and a piece there.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. The best way he comes across is if you do it on the first or second take, and he's singing it. And the last session I did with him, he went in the studio and recorded his own voice with his guitar.
Yes.
He wanted us to work around that. And I didn't think it worked for him, I'll be honest with you. It's like, it's Stompin' Tom, but you don't have that energy thing he has when he's singing live.
Exactly.
With the band.
The draw or whatever.
Even if the band makes mistakes, you should leave it in. You know what I mean? Like I said, the first records we did, even when we traveled, we drove. We didn't drive with him. And I noticed in 1990, we all had to have a walkie-talkie, I guess you'd call it.
Yes.
And he wanted to keep everybody together.
Okay.
Even driving down the highway and where we went and all that. It's okay. But, I prefer just to get to the job. But he just wanted the guys together. He wanted to stay up all night after the show. But I understood it. He wanted to unwind.
Exactly.
He gets so high and he just wants to go and play cards.
Just have a little bit of a fun time.
And just have fun. But
yes.
Heavy smoker.
Yes, that's what I hear. Over 100 cigarettes per day.
5 packs a day.
Wow. Yes.
Could smoke a carton of cigarettes. I mean, Alina quit, after about 10 years before Stompin' Tom died. And Stompin' Tom always smoked right up till the day he passed.
I see, yes.
And he liked to drink beer,
Yes.
Yeah, he was, that's just the way he was. Even when he was driving, he had a can of beer between his legs.
Is that right? Yes?
Yeah, I'm serious,
yes. Oh, wow.
You would never know it.
No, you wouldn't.
He drank beer like we drink, like water or tea.
Or tea.
Yeah, I never noticed him, anything going on with him. But because I drove with him a bunch of times when we were down in Cape Breton, I had friends staying out in the Myra. We went out there.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, don't give him hard liquor. Anyway, I said, that's not, I want to keep him the way he is. He can drink beer till the cows come home.
Yes, but if it was anything stronger, he would be...
He'd be a different person.
Is that right? Okay, I see, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was very good to us, like the musicians, like for me anyway, and I got along with him. He paid us well. Anything we had to do extra. I remember when we did this album, the last album that he did.
Roads of Life?
I don't know what it was called, to tell you the truth now.
Okay.
But he did all the voice tracks first.
Yes.
And then we would go in and we'd do our parts. But he started sitting intently, when you do it. Because I'm the kind of guy, if you don't get me on the first or second or third time,
yeah,
it's downhill for me from there.
Most exactly. Yes.
Play, you're overthinking everything. You got to play in the mood, in the moment.
And also, Welf Carter, we were talking about Welf. He would be a one-time shot, and if it didn't go right the first time, that was all you got, so I've heard.
Well, I'm going to tell you, he was a little like Stompin' Tom. Yeah, I'll tell you what Stompin' Tom, like his songs were written, they were all always in major chords. He would never hit a minor chord.
Okay.
Because he wanted the song to be happy. Once you go into the minor chords, like all of his chords were like C, F, G, D, A, like the major chords.
Yes, yes.
There's no augmenteds and there's no diminishes and all that stuff. Like straight major chords, like a G chord or a C chord.
As Chet Atkins always used to say, 3 chords and the truth.
That's a saying. It's easy for a musician to play with Stompin' Tom. The only thing you got to know about is that he stomps his foot on the off.
Is that right? Okay.
Thing. He's not driving his foot into the board. He skims his foot along it. He hits the board. But if he was pounding his foot into that board, he'd have a very sore leg.
Yes, he would. And that's what I often wondered, Mickey, later in his career, was that he must have had a terrible time with arthritis or something.
No, he would swing his foot that would come down on the offbeat.
Okay.
And he would skim it off the floor. You'd hear the whack, like the sound of this.
But it was in time. It wasn't...
It was in time with what he did. Being the drummer, I knew that there. He didn't want drummers, playing
exactly.
because he wanted his foot to be the drummer. And
That's
he could
right.
set the pace the way he wanted. But he was very unique. He was his own deal.
That's
you can't
right.
say he's a folk singer. You can't say he's this or that. He's Stompin Tom.
And there's only one.
And he could do, totally original.
Yeah.
I remember Bob Lumen, when this is early 60s, he said, Stompin Tom and Anne Murray are going to be your best singers.
Exactly, and they sure have been, yeah. And I listened to an interview recently where he says, I was almost like a caricature of myself.
Yes. You
Yes.
could look at that, see the shadow of him, and you know who it is. It's
Exactly.
Like you look at Mickey Mouse or something like that.
That's right.
You just have to see the shape like they're a caricature. You're right. I got very fond memories of him. I just thought he was a smart guy.
And he was, as you say, a heck of a businessman. He knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing, and he loved his audience.
Exactly.
And he made sure that he would sign the autographs and have pictures taken and all that stuff. But
Now, you also played at his going away ceremony in Peterborough.
Oh, yeah, I was there. Yeah, we did a big ceremony down there. The police, he had like a Order of Canada thing or something. I forget what you call it. But the Mounties, the carriages copping in and out kind of thing.
Exactly. That must have been quite emotional for you.
It was very emotional because I was right next to the coffin.
Yes, you were.
And I was looking there, and Tommy Hunter was there, and there was a lot of Canadian people there. We did the actual ceremony in the gravesite up in Erin there.
Okay.
There was only about 15 of us.
Yes, so
there,
very private there, yes. I see.
And it was very private, and what I noticed was when he was lowered into the ground, they put another package on top of it, and it was the ashes of his mother.
Of his mother.
Yeah, God, I was really emotional when,
Exactly, I'd imagine.
It was very emotional. It was just a small little gathering. But
I know back in his early days, I don't know if this was true later in life, but he always had facial expressions and all this too.
Oh, God, the facial expressions. When he used to sing Real Skinner Blues, you didn't want to be sitting in the first 3 rows because between the splinters coming off the plywood and him spitting the words out,
yes,
sprayed.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Exactly, or like I say,
bang,
a caricature.
Bang, bang on the board, and the facial, he twisted his mouth a certain way, and it was very, very entertaining.
And very animated, yes.
Very animated, that's the word.
Yes.
Very animated, and anyway, it was a great ride. Everybody in the audience, they were laughing, and they were all involved. They all had beer on the table for him, so he'd come and sit with them.
One question I should ask, and I just thought of it, is during all this, did you ever know that he'd become who he was or who he became?
I do. I can't predict none. All I know was that playing in the Horseshoe, he became bigger than the Nashville guys. Like someone like Willie Nelson, or even Stompin Tom and Waylon Jennings. These guys are quiet. They're sitting down. Their voices are not loud.
And as I say, Willie Nelson is very dry or very mellow too.
I remember Waylon Jennings. He liked the reason Waylon Jennings liked our 3-piece band. We were playing the Buddy Knox songs, 50 songs, like anything 50s, and you put a steel guitar or fiddle to it. It's country.
Yes.
I didn't realize that he played with Buddy Holly. He's the guy to give up.
Yes, he did.
To give up his seat
for Buddy. Yes.
And that's where he started. And now the thing about Stompin Tom and Waylon, Stompin Tom at the end of the night, you'll see that. Like Randy McDonald in our band, he was sort of he paid attention to certain things. He said to me, he said, look at all those beer cases and all that there. When Waylon played there, they sold a lot of wine and drinks.
Of course, yes. It was a different crowd.
Different. There's a lot of little things that the owners notice in a club.
Yes.
And it's the alcohol count. That's where all the profit is.
Exactly.
That kind of thing. So you pick up on things if you're around, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Well, thank you, Mickey, for everything, and we'll keep you in touch, and let's stay in touch there, yes.
Okay, that'll be nice. Okay, yeah. And if you ever think of something, just ask me.
I sure will, and hopefully we can meet someday.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Yes,
okay, then.
You have a good day now, and God bless you.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Bye.
Have you heard the news in Newfoundland, rolling around the rock? How Reggie brought for Margie home a cowsy dungsy clock. With Margie being a farm girl, she almost took a fit to find the cowsy dungsy clock was really made of it. The clock was from Toronto and her mind was soon made up. She said to Reggie, get the cow and load her on the truck. We're heading for Ontario and we're off to make her big. 'Cause Margot's got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig. Reggie's got the rig. Reggie's got the rig. Margot's got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig. Now they're rolling through the Maritimes, the truck was nearly full. The cow began to bawl, she was lonesome for the bull. The Mountie pulled him over, is there something I can do? Go right ahead, sir, Margie said, climb in the back and move. Now when they got to Montreal, they missed the auto route, but they found that everyone in town was glad to help them out. The sooner you hit Toronto, they said, the sooner you'll make her big. 'Cause Margot got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig. Reggie's got the rig. Reggie's got the rig. Margot's got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig. Now the truck was overflowing when Toronto hit the rise. The 401 was full of dung and the cab was full of flies. We're losing lots of money, Reg, we can't afford to stop. We gotta find the place that makes the cowsy dungsy clock. Well, I wish you could have been there on the corner of Queen and Yonge, when Margot found the company and she dumped her load of dung. And when she found the office, she was singing and doing a jig. Margot's got the cargo buys and Reggie's got the rig. Reggie got the rig. Reggie got the rig. Margot brought the cargo buys and Reggie brought the rig. It was later in the evening when they heard from Mr. Judge. I don't know what they give yous, but I'll never hold a grudge. I think $1,000 would be fair to hand you down, and 30 days of lodging will be free upon the town. Now Margot says to Reggie, what a hell of a deal we struck. We might have lost a cow by, but still we got the truck. And now they're back in Newfoundland, they're loading up the pig. 'Cause Margot got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig. Reggie's got the rig. Reggie's got the rig. Margot's got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig. Margot's got the cargo by and Reggie's got the rig.
Well, yes, friends, I do hope you all enjoyed that interview with our good friend, Mickey Andrews, and the original pioneer and legend of Canadian country music. With that mentioned, I'd like to once again welcome you all to this Wayback with Johnny's 90th birthday celebration to the king of Canadian country music, Stompin Tom Connors. And it's once again that time in the program where I like to play the vinyl blast from Vinyl Past. With that mentioned, we must first open the vinyl vault door. Now the vinyl vault door is wide open. Let's turn back the years to Stompin Tom Connors' early days and remember a man that joined Tom on many of his cross-country hitchhiking trips. With that, it'll be the legendary Stevedore Steve, Stephen Foote, from the East Coast there. And Steve Foote will be forever remembered as Stevedore Steve. And he did some amazing East Coast legends and songs over the years. With that mentioned, I knew Stevedore for a while back in the early days of my career. However, I never did get to interview him, but one of the best songs Stevedore Steve ever recorded was titled East Coast Ballad. So with that, I would like to honor the friendship of Stevedore Steve and Stompin Tom Connors during the early days of Tom's life. So let's turn back the years and remember this all-time classic called the East Coast Ballad.
Where the white foam crashes on the rocks along the shore, seagulls scream amidst the ocean's roar, and the wind plays the music for the song of the sea. That old East Coast is calling to me. Well, I I've crossed this land of ours and the frozen north as well. My heart is pounding restless for that heavy ocean swell, where the shrimp boats and the lobster traps and nets and trawlers be. That old East Coast is calling to me. Where the broken down derelicts lie sleeping in the sand, dreaming of the days of wooden ships and iron men. Hardy men and fishing schooners reap the harvest of the sea. That old East Coast is calling to me. Long into the night the lighthouse keeps its vigil on the deep, as the fog banks roll past a town that's half asleep, and the little fishing villages lie nestled down the bay. That old East Coast is calling me today. Yes, I've crossed this land of ours and the frozen north as well. My heart is pounding restless for that heavy ocean swell, where the shrimp boats and the lobster traps and nets and trawlers be. That old East Coast is calling to me.
Well, I roamed the country and I gained a lot of experience. I sailed merchant sea on the freighters and tankers, and I rode the freight trains from coast to coast about a dozen times, and hitchhiked all over the place, and I met people from small towns, cities. I met white-collar people, I met bums, I talked to them all, and I just garnered a great deal of experience, and it's coming in handy now for writing.
Now, friends, we have reached the end of the first hour of the Wayback 3-hour program dedicated to the 90th birthday of Stompin Tom Connors. As we play us into the second hour, I would like to share that Stompin Tom was not known for doing many traditional style of gospel songs. However, there was a few that I'll play throughout the program today, including the next one called The Battle of Despair. With that mentioned, it is a very strong Hank Williams style to it, and with that, I would like to play it as our first gospel related song. We'll be back following this on the other side of the second hour.
Oh, we know the battle's coming, but the world don't seem to care. But they'll be sorry if this battle is the battle of despair. When people fall a-crying with their faces in the mud, there'll be wailing, there'll be shrieking when the rivers run with blood. When the sun, the moon, the stars go black, we'll know it's Judgment Day. And will the world be willing then to get on its knees and pray? They'll be wishing they had Bibles instead of rifles in their hand, and the fear of God will till the sod in the heart of every man. There'll be nothing but disaster, there'll be gnashing of the teeth, and the heavens will be open to the wicked world beneath. And we'll hear the mighty trumpet sounding off throughout the land. Non-believers will believe it when the hour is at hand. We'll see the blessed Savior with the army that he brings. He's the splendor of the nation, he's the King of all the kings. He will wear the crown of heaven sitting on the judgment seat, and the battle of Armageddon will be over and complete. Then the bodies upon bodies in a shambles of the earth, they'll be called to life again to find out what their soul is worth. Come all ye who has been faithful to thy God whom you adore, let burn all ye who evil be in hell forevermore. The battle of despair, it may be this one to come. What's to be will have to be, but let us pray this ain't the one. Take the Bible, not the rifle, never kill, just bend the knee. And if we lose or win the battle, we'll still live eternally.
Just standing there signing an autograph, no. I don't enjoy that as much as I would if I had more time with each person individually to, shoot the guff with them for a couple of minutes each or something like that. That would be better than to just like have an assembly line for autographs. This I don't really get any kick out of that, except for the fact that they want the autograph, and so I'm there to give it to them. But I would rather talk to them.
Down on old Prince Edward Island, when the winds are on the blow, and the ocean waters rolling through the reefs and rocks below.
Hi everyone, Alan Dalton here from the Stompin Tom Connors fan club and Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more YouTube channel from Prince Edward Island, home of Stompin Tom, wishing Stompin Tom a happy 90th birthday on the Johnny Woodlock Show.
But it's a free-for-all and they're having a ball, they're bringing in the Irish moss. It's a free-for-all and they're having a ball, they're bringing in the Irish moss.
Well, yes, friends, once again, it's that time in the program where we'd like to welcome you all to the second hour of the Wayback with Johnny show here on CFRC 101.9 FM and also www.oshawarocks.com. As mentioned, we're coming to you via the Woodlock Ranch and Studios as well on the shores of St. Lawrence Seaway in Cornwall, Ontario. With all that mentioned, we're celebrating what would have marked the 90th milestone birthday of Stompin Tom Connors, and I would like to remember now the days of the old Horseshoe Tavern and how it played such a big part in the early days of Tom's career. Having first come to the Horseshoe in the early 1970s, he would spend 9 consecutive weeks at the Horseshoe, which would lead ultimately to Tom becoming the Canadian icon in the area of Toronto. With that mentioned, I'd like to also pay tribute to an album that he brought out in 1973 called Live at the Horseshoe, which is the only live album that Stompin Tom ever recorded as far as I know. With that mentioned, we're going to pay tribute to a song called The Horseshoe Hotel Song, and then we'll follow that with another all-time favorite off this early album from 1973 called The Mule Skinner's Blues, which Tom does an amazing job and his own version, if I may say, of. With that, welcome in, friends, and happy birthday, Tom.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Horseshoe with, I think, one of the nicest people I've ever met in the business, Canadian talent or otherwise. A fellow that, sort of hits your funny bone in a way. In another way, he gets your toe tapping. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stompin Tom Connors.
I'd like to dedicate this song to all those people who are drinking tonight in the Horseshoe Tavern, to all those people who have drunk in the past at the Horseshoe Tavern, and to all those people who will get drunk in the near future at the Horseshoe Tavern. Come all you big drinkers and sit yourself down. The Horseshoe Tavern waiters will bring on the round. There's songs to be sung and stories to tell. Here at the hustle and down at the bustle and here at the Horseshoe Hotel. Right here at the Horseshoe Hotel. Now there's Harvey the Hunter, just back from the kill. Stanley the Storeman and Bulldozer Bill. And Marvin the Moocher, we knows them all well. They drinks at the hustle and down at the bustle and here at the Horseshoe Hotel. They drink at the Horseshoe Hotel. Oh, we got the best waiters, they do their job fast. Before you're done drinking, they pick up your glass. And Big Ted the trucker, and needless to tell, he drinks at the hustle and down at the guzzle and here at the Horseshoe Hotel. He drinks at the Horseshoe Hotel. You think that's funny, do you? Well, you hear this verse, this'll kill you. Now here's Stompin' Tom, who thinks he can sing, but like an old rusty bell, he's got no ding-a-ling. But that's okay, because we all knows well, he drinks at the hustle and down at the guzzle and here at the Horseshoe Hotel. Right here at the Horseshoe Hotel. I wouldn't laugh at me if I was you. I got a little verse for y'all here now. Now all you good people, when morning is come, you're back on your jobs and your head's really numb. I hope you recall when it's aching like hell, you drank at the hustling, down at the guzzling, here at the Horseshoe Hotel. You got slushed at the Horseshoe Hotel. Okay, it's time for me to give you what I caught myself. It's a very contagious disease, and if you wake up about 4 o'clock in the morning and you fall out of bed, you start stomping your foot to try to get up, you look around for an old black cowboy hat, you look in the mirror and your eyes are crossing on you and you start laughing at yourself, you know you got a very familiar kind of a disease that I've had for some time. I caught it from a fellow that joined the mule train in the old days, and he found out he was allergic to something the mules had. He had an awful bad case of the mule Skinner blues that I'd like to pass on to you tonight. Good morning, Captain. Good morning to you, sir. Do you need a mule Skinner? Down on your new mud run. He was a sick mule Skinner, I'll tell you that. I'm an old mule Skinner from down in old Kentucky way. I can make a mule listen. I won't accept your pay. Hey, little water boy. Come here, boy. Bring a bucket round. Clang, clang. If you don't like your job, little water boy, you can lay that water bucket down. One more time now. Thank you.
Stompin Tom Connors right there. He'll be right back in just a while with another show.
It was a big waiter down in the King George Hotel in Peterborough, and I used to stomp my foot anyway, and at that time I was carrying a board around with me so I wouldn't destroy the carpets in the hotels where I played, otherwise I couldn't get a job. So anyway, this waiter, I come in one night, and this waiter, Boyd McDonald was his name, and he come in, he says, "Here he is, folks, once again, Stompin' Tom." And from that second on, I knew forever that that's what my name was going to be as long as I picked up a guitar and sang.
Well, yes, friends, following those classics of the Live at the Horseshoe Tavern from 1973, we're once again back here on the Wayback with Johnny show. It is that time in the program to play a collection of some of the most essential songs from Tom Connors' career. These were the records that would make Tom Connors the signature icon of Canadian country music that he was. With that mentioned, let's remember first an all-time classic by Stompin Tom, and a truly one of his signature songs called Bud the Spud. Now, this appeared in the 1969 album of the same title, with potatoes in the background and him stomping on his stomping board. And, of course, this was the first album that ever pictured him in that signature black cowboy hat. Then we'll follow with a 1970 classic, of course, Ottawa Valley's legend, Big Joe Mufferaw. We'll then follow with a 1971 classic called Tilsonburg, and we'll wrap up with none other than yet another all-time essential recording of Tom's called The Hockey Song, which I understand is still used on Hockey Night in Canada to this day. And yes, this song has also had an amazing history of its own. With that, welcome in, friends, and good morning to each and every one of you.
It's Bud the Spud from the bright red mud, rolling down a highway smiling. The Spuds are big on the back of Bud's rig. They're from Prince Edward Island. They're from Prince Edward Island. Now from Charlottetown or from Summerside, they load him down for the big long ride. He jumps in the cab and he's off with the pride so biggles. He's got to catch the boat to make Clementine, then he hits up that old New Brunswick line. To Montreal he comes just a-flying with another big load of potatoes. It's Bud the Spud from the bright red mud, rolling down the highway smiling. The Spuds are big on the back of Bud's rig. They're from Prince Edward Island. They're from Prince Edward Island. Now the Ontario Provincial Police don't think much of Bud. Yeah, the cops have been looking for the son of a gun that's been ripping the tire off the 401. They know the name on the truck shines up in the sun, Green Gables. But he hits Toronto and at 7 o'clock, when he backs her up again the terminal dock, and the boys gather round just to hear him talk about another big load of potatoes. It's Bud the Spud from the bright red mud, rolling down the highway smiling. The Spuds are big on the back of Bud's rig. They're from Prince Edward Island. They're from Prince Edward Island. Now I know a lot of people from east to west that like the Spuds from the island best, 'cause they'll stand up to the hardest test. Right on the table. So when you see that big trucker rolling by, wave your hand or kind of wink your eye, 'cause that's Bud the Spud from old PEI with another big load of potatoes. It's Bud the Spud on the bright red mud, rolling down the highway smiling, because he's got another big load of the best doggone potatoes that's ever been growed. And they're from Prince Edward Island. They're from Prince Edward Island.
I actually wrote the song in Peterborough, Ontario, and I wanted to write a song about the Prince Edward Island potatoes. And a friend of mine who was another country artist, Bud Roberts, he wanted me to write him a truck driving song. And the two songs were coming into my mind at the same time, and I was trying to write one and I couldn't get it written, and I tried to write the other one and I couldn't. So what actually happened, I put the two of them together and I got the potatoes on the back of the truck, and I was away with a song.
Heave hi ho, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. Big Joe Mufferaw paddled into Mattawa all the way from Ottawa just one day. Hey, hey, on the river Ottawa, the best man we ever saw was Big Joe Mufferaw, the old folks say. Come and listen and I'll tell you what the old folks say. And he say Big Joe had an old pet frog, bigger than a horse, and he barked like a dog. And the only thing quicker than a train upon a track was Big Joe riding on the bullfrog's back. Heave hi ho, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. And he say Big Joe used to get real wet from cutting down timber and working up a sweat. And everyone will tell you around Carlton Place the Mississippi dripped off of Big Joe's face. Heave hi, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. Now Joe had the portage from the Gatineau down to see a little girl he had in Kempville down. He was back and forth so many times to see that gal, the path he wore became the Rideau Canal. Heave hi, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. Big Joe Mufferaw paddled in the Mattawa all the way from Ottawa in just one day. Hey, hey, on the river Ottawa, the best man we ever saw was Big Joe Mufferaw, the old folks say. Come and listen and I'll tell you what the old folks say. And they say Big Joe put out a forest fire halfway between Renfrew and Old Ironfriar. He was 50 miles away down around Smith Falls, but he drowned out the fire with 5 spitballs. Heave hi, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. Well, he jumped into Calabogie Lake real fast and he swam both ways to catch a cross-eyed bass. But he threw it on the ground and said, I can't eat that, so he covered it over with Mount St. Pat. Heave hi, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. And they say Big Joe drank a bucket of gin and he beat the living tar out of 29 men. And high on the ceiling of a Pembroke pub, there's 29 boot marks and they're signed with love. Heave hi, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. Big Joe Mufferaw paddled into Mattawa all the way from Ottawa in just one day. Hey, hey, on the river Ottawa, the best man we ever saw was Big Joe Mufferaw, the old folks say. Come and listen and I'll tell you what the old folks say. They say, heave hi, oh, the best man in Ottawa was Mufferaw Joe. Mufferaw Joe. Big Joe Mufferaw, 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 Big Joe Mufferaw.
Hey, Tom, you ever been to Tillsonburg?
Tillsonburg? My back still aches when I hear that word. While away down southern Ontario, I never had a nickel or a dime to show. A fella beeped up in an automobile. He said, you wanna work in the tobacco fields of Tillsonburg.
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. He said, I'll only give you $7 a day, but if you're any good, you get a raise in pay. Your bed's already on the bunkhouse floor. If it gets a little chilly, you can close the door. Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg,
it was Tillsonburg.
Tillsonburg.
My back still aches when I hear that word. I was feeling in the morning anything but fine. The farmer said, I'm gonna teach you how to prime. He said, you gotta don a pair of oilskin pants if you wanna work in the tobacco plants of Tillsonburg.
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. We landed in a field that was long and wide, with 1 old horse and 5 more guys. I asked him where to find the cigarette trees. When he said bend over, I was ready to leave. Tillsonburg,
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 Tillsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. He said to pick just the bottom leaves and don't start crawling on your hands and knees. Prime your row, 'cause you'll get no pay for standing there picking at your nose all day round Tillsonburg.
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. With a broken back bending over there, I was wet right through to the underwear, and it was stuck to my skin like glue from the nicotine tar and the morning dew of Tillsonburg.
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. Now the nearest river was 2 miles from the place they were waiting for the boat to come. When I heard some talk about making the kill, I was down the highway and over the hill from Tillsonburg.
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg,
Tillsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. Now there's one thing you can always bet: if I never smoke another cigarette, might get taken in a lot of deals, but I won't go work in the tobacco fields of Tilsonburg.
Tilsonburg,
Tilsonburg,
Tilsonburg.
my back still aches when I hear that word. My back still aches when I hear that word. My back still aches when I hear that word. My back still aches when I hear that word.
I'd been used to quite a bit of hard work from, Prince Edward Island, picking potatoes, one thing or another, and I thought, well, I'd be able to tackle it pretty good. So the first day in the field, it wasn't too bad, but the second morning when you wake up, that's when it really hurts. Your back starts to get to you. And I'd say the hardest days in tobacco is the second day, third, and fourth.
Hello out there, we're on the air, it's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Second period, where players dash with skates aflash, the home team trails behind, but they grab the puck and go bursting up and they're down across the line. They storm the crease like bumblebees, they travel like a burning flame. We see them slide the puck inside, it's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Third period, last game in the playoffs too. Oh, take me where the hockey players face off down the rink, and the Stanley Cup is all filled up for the champs who win the drink. Now the final flick of a hockey stick and a one gigantic scream. The puck is in, the home team wins the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
If you have in your heart to do something, you decide, well, I better do that. I can't do anything else. I didn't have the education to get a better job type of thing, and music came natural to me.
Now, friends, it's once again that time in the program to pay tribute to some of the story songs based on actual events of Canadian history. With that mentioned, some of the most beloved songs of Stompin' Tom's career came out in the 1970s up until 1978 when he would go into retirement. With that mentioned, some of these songs, and many of these songs actually, were truly Canadian story songs about true events happening in Canada. With that mentioned, we're going to start with an all-time classic located in Kapuskasing, Ontario, and that is the Union Strike out that way. That was called the Resort Crossing Tragedy, which happened February the 11th, 1963 in Kapuskasing. I'd also like to mention that he goes on to great detail in his Before the Fame biography, his first biography, about this story and how he almost was killed over it by performing it shortly following the event. And as mentioned, he goes into great detail about it in his book. With that mentioned, we're going to pay tribute to that one, and then we'll follow with a song going out to our listeners out west in Alberta. In the foothills of Alberta especially, it'll be a song called How the Mountain Came Down, about the old Frankie slide out in Alberta. We'll then follow with a song that is very close to home and my family, due to the fact that my ancestor was John Wilson, who fought and won the last fatal duel in Perth. And it was actually one of the songs that Stompin' Tom didn't write, but he did record, and it was written by Freddie Dixon, the Ottawa Valley. Then we'll follow and wrap up this selection of Tom's historical recordings with the story of the Burrard Bridge out there in Vancouver, and that is called The Bridge Came Tumbling Down. With that, I'd like to welcome you all in and say good morning to each and every one of you listening in on the Wayback with Johnny's 90th anniversary of the birth of the truest and the most patriotic man in Canadian country music history, Stompin Tom Connors.
Just a little bit west of Kapuskasing, Resor Crossing, that's the name. Farmers hauled from out of the bushland pulpwood for the mill-bound train. 20 farmers met that night to guard their pulp from a union strike, unaware this night would see the Resor Crossing tragedy, the Resor Crossing tragedy. You'll never load that pile of lumber, said the union men when they came. Though they numbered about 500, the 20 farmers took rifle aim. We've got to get our pulpwood out before the muskeg frost comes out, and may God help us all to see no Resor Crossing tragedy, no Resor Crossing tragedy. You'll never touch this pile of lumber, but they came, and tragically 3 men died that February night in the year of 63. 8 more wounded, some beat up, tires slashed on the lumber trucks. A night of death and destiny, the Resor Crossing tragedy, the Resor Crossing tragedy. You'll never touch this pile of lumber. 7 words that spelled out pain for the widows and their children and their men who died in vain. How can anyone forget the bloodiest labor battle yet in all Canadian history? The Resor Crossing tragedy, the Resor Crossing tragedy. Just a little bit west of Kapuskasing, they erected a sculpture beside the tracks of the bushman and his family who lived their lives behind the axe. It reminds us in the north not to bring our tempers forth, that there may never elsewhere be no Resor Crossing tragedy, no Resor Crossing tragedy, no Resor Crossing tragedy.
Certainly, didn't mean any harm or anything to the people who were directly involved, but I thought that these things in Canada should be really brought out so that the rest of the people in Canada can hear these stories and to know that it was real live people involved in it, not just something you read in a book.
On April 22nd of 1903, from the Indian reservation came a withered old Cree. He came to the pass of the Old Crow's Nest in the rugged Rocky Mountains of the great Northwest. He came to warn the white men to leave their mining town, for the top of the Turtle Mountain, he said, was soon to come crashing down. He said that before another sun would ever come to show, that 1,000,000 tons of rock would slide to the valley far below. And oh my God, how that mountain came down. Oh, how the mountain came down, down, down. The whole town of Frank was buried in the ground. Oh my God, how that mountain came down. They laughed at the warning, and they paid him no heed. For who could trust the ravings, they said, of a crazy old Cree? That rock had been surveyed by the mining engineers, who said the mountain would be standing there for another 1,000 years. So nobody listened, and the old man, he left and the miners were now descending for the midnight shift. The whole town was quiet now, like nothing was afoul, but a dog was heard to whimper with the strangest kind of howl. All the men were working now in the coal down below, and the monster rock was moving ever slow, slow, slow. The stealthy mountain creeping sealed the mine like a tomb on the 23rd of April, on that dark day of doom. The sun had almost risen, with the miners in despair, when the top of the Turtle Mountain, it went rising up in the air. With a mighty beastly grumble like all hell was at the door, the giant rock had tumbled all across the valley floor. And oh my God, how that mountain came down. Oh, how the mountain came down, down, down. The whole town of Frank was buried in the ground. Oh my God, how that mountain came down. Now everything was silent where life once used to be. No mine, no town, no people, not a shingle could be seen. When someone found a wee baby from out of the rock, she cried. She became the sole survivor, and they called her Frankie Slide. But no amount of excavation could save another soul. The day that Turtle Mountain took its deadly human toll, and throughout the Rocky Mountains, friends, even to this very day, many people whisper and shudder, and they tremble when they say, oh my God, how that mountain came down. Oh, how the mountain came down, down, down. The whole town of Frank was buried in the ground. Oh my God, how that mountain came down. Oh, how the mountain came down, down, down. The last fatal duel in this country was fought in the quiet Perth town, where the ghost of Bill Lyon still lingers down at the old burial ground on the banks of the old Tay River. In Perth on a cold misty day, two young men they met there at daybreak, but only one of the two walked away. This duel wasn't fought for valor, but a young woman's love the excuse. Billy Lyon had challenged John Wilson back to back to settle their views. The last fatal duel in this country was fought in the quiet Perth town, where the ghost of Bill Lyon still lingers down at the old burial ground. Their seconds called out the 10 paces. These men with their pistols would take. They fired 2 rounds at each other. Now young Lyon lies still in his grave. The last fatal duel in this country was fought in the quiet Perth town, where the ghost of Bill Lyon still lingers down at the old burial ground. John Wilson stood trial in Brockville, for this murder was in first degree. The Crown listened close to his story. Without warning, the judge set him free. To duel is a crime in this country, but the judge never seen it that way. John Wilson then married that woman, and they lived up in London, they say. The last fatal duel in this country was fought in the quiet Perth town, where the ghost of Bill Lyon still lingers down at the old burial ground. The ghost of Bill Lyon still lingers down at the old burial ground. 19 scarlet roses the chaplain spread around in the waters of Burrard Inlet in old Vancouver town, where the bridge came tumbling down. When the bridge came tumbling down, 19 men were drowned in June of 1958 in old Vancouver town. There were 79 men working to build this brand new bridge, to span the second narrows and connect up with the ridge, till a big wind hit the bridge, and the bridge came tumbling down, and 19 men were drowned, and the medical corps couldn't be too sure of the rest of the men they found. In among the twisted girders, one man realized how last night he'd been dreaming, and saw before his eyes the big wind on the rise, and the bridge came tumbling down, and 19 steel men drowned, and he saw the fright of the darkest night in old Vancouver town. With frogmen in the water, by the cutting torches' glow, they fought to save the steel men from certain death below, and pain we'll never know. When the bridge came tumbling down, and 19 men were drowned, and 60 more that came ashore, so thankful they were found. It often makes you wonder, in strength who has the edge, the longest steel beam structure that spans the highest ridge, or the men that built the bridge. For the bridge came tumbling down, and 19 men were drowned, but the other men came back again to lay the new beams down. Now if you're ever crossing this mighty bridge sublime, and 19 scarlet roses pass before your mind, remember and be kind. The bridge came tumbling down, and 19 men were drowned, so you could ride to the other side of old Vancouver town. So you could ride to the other side of old Vancouver town.
It's a story pretty well from beginning to end. You can take from the words of it, if you listen to the words, that something has happened, and it tells the story from the beginning to the end pretty well how it happened. It's something like a folk song.
Well, now, friends, it's once again that time in the program to welcome a very special guest of honor, our second guest of honor, onto the program today. And this next guest has been a long-time member of the Stompin Tom Band, performing with Tom all over Canada. And with that mentioned, I would like to pay tribute to an interview I got to do recently with Darin Parise of the Stompin Tom Band. Now, Darin is also known as a bluegrass musician as well, and I met him last year at the Bluegrass Festival in Spencerville, Ontario. So we're going to pay tribute to this interview I recently got to do, and then we're going to pay tribute to a song that Stompin Tom recorded many years ago called New Brunswick and Mary. With that, welcome in, friends, and now here is Darin Parise.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been a long time since we last talked.
Yes, it has, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not too much has changed. We're still performing a little bit. I'm mostly doing violin setups, repairs, and still play the odd gig. But
yes. How did you first meet Stompin Tom?
Well, it's to make it quickly. I was playing professionally at the time. This was back in 1999, 1998, somewhere in there. I was playing full time on the road, playing in my own band, and I happened to get a call from an agent that said, "Hey, listen, we're wondering if you'd mind coming and do a child's benefit concert in Welland." Okay. There's all these other groups there, and in Ontario, of course, and then all these country singers that were really doing well in the late '90s. They were doing a lot of the country stuff, and I got invited on that. Somebody, I was starting to do my show, and then I got about halfway where I play all the instruments. I did my little Barbara Mandrell thing, and everybody seemed to like that. And then after the show, somebody came up to me with a card, and it was from, I remember, Rockland's talent agency.
Yes,
Those folks were looking came up to me, approached me, and said, Tom's looking for a fiddle player for the next tour. And I went, holy jeez. So I got on the bandwagon, and I couldn't believe it. So I left the card in my pocket, and I just moved on. And then a couple of weeks later, I got a call from, I didn't know who it was, but I thought it was a joke. Somebody's calling me saying, hey, this is Stompin Tom. We're looking for you to come on the tour. And I went, yeah, right. I couldn't believe it. I kept saying, no, this is Johnny. Forget it. I don't believe you.
Yes.
And then it went blank for a little while, and then he says, well, if you want the job, you got it. And, I kind of, there was a few extra words in there.
Yes, of course, yes.
Some down east words there, And I went, holy smokes, it's the real deal. It's really Tom, on the phone. He says, well, you're going to be here next week. We're having rehearsal, and we're on the road. Get your bags packed. Let's go. Oh, you know my material? Yeah, well, I'll send you a few CDs, and then come on down.
I see.
I was, overwhelmed by the whole thing. I had to cancel everything, all my tours, all my stuff, and sure as heck, I went over to Tom's 2 weeks later, and he had sent me every CD that he ever recorded.
Wow.
And I went through all the stuff, and then I showed up, and we had a 3-song rehearsal, half of Blood This Blood, half a snowmobile song, and half a Sudbury, and that was it.
And that was it, yes?
Yeah, we were 4 or 5 guys, and when he said, when the first song, it was I was overwhelmed by the whole thing. He went to his house, rehearsed in his basically it's a bar, really.
Okay.
It's 2 houses built into one, if I can explain that one, but he's got his I guess your caveman or man cave type spot there. He's got a pool room and all this stuff going on, and
amazing.
I was kind of, when he started off with "Hello Out There," we're on there. I'm facing him, and he sings us so loud without any effort. It took me back. And holy moly! Out there, really loud, in your face. I went, man, oh man! I still got my hair stand up just listening to that. I couldn't believe what was going on. In 2 weeks, my whole world changed. And then after that, it was a few adult beverages later, and 3 days later, we all got out of that house and we went on the tour, first tour, and it was quite something else. We all had our own little minivans and 2 guys per minivan and a big tour bus. We didn't have that. We just had a transport following us, and that was it. Out the road we went.
I see.
That all happened, and it happened quickly. I guess I was at the right place at the right time. That might be the only way I can explain it. So
for sure.
Other than that, there's no other way this would have ever happened. I mean, I had kind of contacted them before, if they were looking for somebody, but when you're at that level, they don't look at that stuff.
No,
much,
exactly. This is it.
They got enough people offering to come in and do this gig, So, but that's how it happened, and it was a deal breaker, man. I'll tell you.
Fast paced, I'd imagine.
Actually, no. It was, as far as Tom wouldn't travel at night, number one, unless we had to. We only did a couple of 100 miles a day, and we got to the next session, or the next, not session, but the next
town or what
place where we were going to play, where we were going to stay. We had stayed in motels every night of the week, so you never knew how far you were going to travel, but he wouldn't go more than a couple 100 miles in daylight driving, and we'd only do at best 3 gigs a week, at best.
Oh, is that right? I see. Yes.
Yeah, and that was it. The pace was good. It wasn't like in some other groups where go. It's not like Tommy.
So it's laid back a lot.
Every day of the week, it's bang, 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 30 shows, 30 days.
I see.
He didn't operate that way.
Okay.
So really easy to work with that way.
I see. Yes. So did you ever? I know you performed on the stage with him, but did you guys ever record with him? And what was that like?
Well, I recorded the Hockey Mom CD with him and the Ode to the Road CD.
Yes.
And a few other songs that were never recorded, that never made the cut. And now that he's recorded, he had enough material for 5 or 10 more CDs, I guess. I can't remember, but I think he's at volume 5 or 6 that's released. I don't know the post since he's crossed over. And I'm on a lot of that stuff. We would record, and then we were done the album, and he'd go, "Hey guys, let's have a few more road pops, and let's just have a jam."
Amazing.
And like everything from bluegrass to country to some old rock and roll, anything. This guy sang so many songs. I don't know how he remembered everything, but he did.
Yes.
And so we recorded all kinds of material every time we were in the studio that we never used, and then now it's all coming out on these post CDs. Al Widmeyer was telling me that some of the stuff that we're
they are
on the studio sessions are being used for post passing on. So it's really cool. So that's, the studios was something else, I'll tell you. I don't even know where to begin with that. But he had everything. He was a prepared man.
Was he?
You showed up there, and every song was already, the chords, everything. You had a sheet of 10 songs, and you followed along with it. You chord changes, everything. He was very meticulous on that stuff. So really, really, really well organized.
Nice.
Unbelievably organized.
Yes.
So when you own a studio, sometimes nobody's really all that prepared. You get in there and you throw on whatever they throw at you. But no, he had specific notes that he wanted me to play on the banjo, and certain notes that he wanted. And sometimes I would just do 5 notes on a banjo, 5 notes that he wanted, and that was it for that one song.
For sure.
Well, he'd been doing the studio work for I don't even know how many albums he's got out, 40 or 50 albums. He's up there,
True.
So he had a recipe that worked. And the funny thing is, when we did final mix, he had a little speaker the size of about 5-inch speaker that you would put in a tractor, right? And he would say to me, he said, "Listen, we want people to hear me play and sing like you would be in a tractor, like a farm guy,
Yes,
These guys,
yes.
They listen to my music, and so he would mix his CDs or albums through that little speaker.
Oh, wow.
And then you could hear everything. You could hear his voice, of course, way louder than all the other instruments. He made sure of that, and clear and crystal clear. I couldn't believe how he was mixing this. I mean, it's an old trick, right? He lived on that, and he'd take CDs home from the session and study that carefully. So if you really listen to his CDs, it's all planned. He gave you room for improvise, if you're doing a solo, but not too far off the chart, like no going off the beaten path of melody. You kind of really stuck to the melody.
Yes.
Really struck. Old school.
I see.
Melody all day long. He had a recipe that worked.
Like it was all done live too, I'd imagine. It wasn't...
right off the floor.
Exactly.
Sometimes you have to go back in and I'd overdub. Like, the music's already recorded, and I go back in and add a steel guitar part or a fiddle or mandolin or banjo, whatever they are, a rhythm track, a guitar track. A lot of he liked that Telecaster type of Johnny Cash thing, tick, 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 that clickety clock type thing. And so I did on those albums, I added that, they call it ticky talk, whatever you want to call it, but it's the same kind of rhythm as the guitar player from Johnny Cash, because he was really a big fan of Johnny Cash. So a lot of his material, if you listen to the guitar playing, it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but not overly. He didn't. I don't want to sound like Johnny Cash.
No, exactly.
Kind of put it in there a little bit,
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was a big fan of Johnny Cash and stuff like that. So
I see. So, do you have any personal favorite memories of working with Tom over the years?
Well, I'll tell you, the one that really hits me, and I tell this to everybody, and I always forget it, but we were playing down east, and we had Billy McGinnis on the fiddle.
Okay.
And I was on the fiddle too, but I played the steel, and then Billy got on the piano, and we would swap yarns. He wanted 2 fiddle players. Sometimes we'd do a double thing, or mostly he just kept me on the steel. So we were playing a song called Brunswick and Mary.
Okay. Yes.
And while we're playing it, there was a song he didn't play often, but he was playing along, and I'm sitting if you see me on stage, I'm always to the right to him. So he look at me sometimes, because I'm sort of like the band leader. If I knew all the chords of songs, and I could see he's singing along, and I could see a trickle of a tear coming out of his eye, and I went, oh, geez. This is intense, we're playing along, and he's crying while he's singing the song. I kind of asked him after, maybe a couple of days, Tom, what's up with that song? Oh, I'll tell you some other day, Frenchie, but that's a hard one to sing around here, It's just, I love the song so much, but it brings back a lot of stuff, and he was showing his
emotional,
human soft side.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, I was like, ooh, this is intense. I couldn't believe it after the song.
So did he ever tell you what it was okay.
No, he never did.
No, okay.
We'll never know. I think he was kind of... Tom was, there's some private stuff about him.
Of course.
A lot of it's in the book, but some of it isn't,
Yes.
I have a feeling there was something to do with maybe a girlfriend in the old days.
Exactly.
I don't know, but it was, it was, because he's from actually New Brunswick, right? So
for sure.
So being in the same town, we played in St. John, and he sang that song, probably third song into the set, and I went, whoa, and I couldn't believe it. So that one stands out as far as the intensity of, like, once he got playing that song and just playing along with him, I think it gave him comfort. I don't know how to explain it, but you're playing along, and I played the solo perfectly, and he looked at me and gave me a little wink in the eye type thing, and it was a good solo, and I went, oh, geez,
Yeah.
It was just that one moment that
is deeply moving for you.
you can't make this stuff up.
No, exactly. This is what makes it so unique, or whatever, the personal side of it. Exactly.
And of course, if you ever played Tilsonburg, when you're playing Tilsonburg, you should hear that place go wild over.
Exactly. And once before we say so long here, what song of Tom's can I play for you?
Okay.
I know we had mentioned New Brunswick and Mary, but
Darn right. Let's put that one out.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's put out Brunswick Mary, because that one here, of all the songs I've seen him, and I performed many shows and all that stuff, that one is a golden one for him. For some reason, we'll never know for sure. Maybe Lena might know. I don't know, but I never did find out. But I didn't want to ask either.
Of course.
Some things you just move on, right?
Yeah.
But it was a meaningful song for him, and I was happy to be there to back him up on that.
And to witness it. Exactly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, thank you for a wonderful conversation, and sounds good, Darin.
And all the folks out there that remember Stompin' Tom, don't forget him, and hopefully they'll do a good thing this year for him, and hopefully I can make it out there. The Whiskey Jack boys, they're always on top of that
Of
stuff.
course.
So,
And we'll also say happy 90th birthday in heaven to Stompin' Tom. So with that...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Happy birthday, Tom.
Yeah.
Wherever you may be, we're sure you're in a good place.
Exactly. Yes. God bless you, Darin. Take care now.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Take care, my friend. Thank you for the call.
For sure. Bye-bye.
I get heart sick and blue for New Brunswick and you, since I left for the west and the prairie. And the stars up above know the two things I love are my home in New Brunswick and Mary. I'll bet the salmon are all running now along the old Miramichi, and in Woodstock the potatoes will be doing fine. While away out west in the wheat fields, with Mary still in my heart, I've got far away New Brunswick in my mind. And I get heart sick and blue for New Brunswick and you, since I left for the west and the prairie. And the stars up above know the two things I love are my home in New Brunswick and Mary. I can see the cattle just coming home in Sussex where Mary lives, and I catch the glimpse of a moose in the lonesome pine. While away out west in the wheat fields, with Mary's love in my heart, I've got far away New Brunswick in my mind. And I get heart sick and blue for New Brunswick and you, since I left for the west and the prairie. And the stars up above know the two things I love are my home in New Brunswick and Mary. I get heart sick and blue for New Brunswick and you, since I left for the west and the prairie. And the stars up above know the two things I love are my home in New Brunswick and Mary.
And well, friends, following that interview with Darin, I would like to once again pay tribute to a very special lady who stood behind Stompin' Tom and the legend that he became for over 39 years at the time of Tom's passing. That, of course, is a song going out to Mrs. Lena Connors, Mrs. Stompin' Tom, out there in Georgetown, Ontario. For her, today it's going to be the song that Tom recorded and wrote for her back in 1973 on November the 2nd they were married on live CBC television. With that, for Mrs. Tom Connors, this is an all-time classic called We're Trading Hearts Today. We'll be back following this to send us into the third and final hour.
We're trading hearts today. We're going all the way, changing from yesterday to people apart. I love you come what may, this holy vow we say, on this our wedding day. We're trading hearts, we're trading hearts today, knowing the world's okay, walking the same highway, never to part. And if the sky be gray, I'll take your hand and say, will you be mine today? We're trading hearts, we're trading hearts today. We're going all the way, changing from yesterday to people apart. And if the sky be gray, I'll take your hand and say, will you be mine today? We're trading hearts, will you be mine today? 'Cause we're trading hearts.
And yes, friends, once again, I would like to pay tribute to a song before we send us into the third and final hour. As we send us into the third and final hour, we're going to pay tribute to another song that Stompin' Tom recorded much in the gospel style. And that, is, of course, is a song called Our Father, which is the Lord's Prayer to many of us who are religious and Christians. With that, it was re-recorded in 2012 on his Christmas album. With that, I would like to pay tribute to this all-time classic as we send us into the third and final hour. Welcome in, friends, and happy listening.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy holy name. Thy kingdom shall come, and thy will shall be done in the earth as it is in thy heavenly domain. Give us this day our daily bread, we need no more, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, Lord. And we beg you to lead us away from evil deed and temptation, that our Savior Jesus never died in vain. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy holy name. the kingdom is thine, and the power divine, and the glory. Stand in praise, and there forever will remain.
The media didn't see the serious side of Stompin' Tom, and I had problems with that because I didn't mind them talking about the boots, the boards, and all that kind of thing, as long as they would put 50% of the time the words in that I would have liked to have said, instead of editing out of a lot of the conversations that I had. They wanted more of the, as I say, the boots, the boards, and the hats, and the shows, and this kind of thing, rather than knowing who I was and what it was I was trying to do.
Old Prince Edward Island, when the winds are on the blow, and the ocean waters rolling through the reefs and rocks below.
Hi everyone, Alan Dalton here from the Stompin Tom Connors fan club and Canadian music in the 80s and 90s and more YouTube channel from Prince Edward Island, home of Stompin Tom, wishing Stompin Tom a happy 90th birthday on the Johnny Woodlock Show.
But it's a free-for-all and they're having a ball, they're bringing in the Irish moss. It's a free-for-all and they're having a ball, they're bringing in the Irish moss.
Well, yes, friends, following the Lord's Prayer, we are once again back here on the Wayback with Johnny show as we celebrate the 90th milestone birthday of Stompin Tom Connors. We're still coming to you via the Woodlock Ranch and Studios in Cornwall, Ontario, as well as being heard over historic CFRC 119 FM from the heart of the limestone city of Kingston, Ontario. We can also be heard throughout the Greater Toronto area at www.oshawarocks.com, and also heard over our YouTube channel at Wayback with Johnny on YouTube. As I welcome you all here to the third and final hour of this special celebration to the King of Canadian Country Music's 90th birthday, Stompin Tom, I'd like to remember a very patriotic move in Stompin Tom's career and highlight a certain part in Tom's career where he decided to give up the fame and retire for about 10 years. That was in 1978 when he would return his Juno Awards, due in part to his feelings that the music industry was favoring the people who worked outside of Canada, even writing a letter to the Juno board stating that he was no longer proud to have them in his possession, and also referring to the artist as Juno Jumpers, among other things. This was a very trying time in Tom's life, and he would not return to the stage until 1988 when he would come back out as a comeback artist. From then on, he would perform on the stages across Canada. First of all, I'd like to pay tribute to an all-time classic called The Singer is the Voice of the People that was recorded in 1978 on his final record that he would release in 1978 before his retirement, and then we'll follow that with a 1991 classic called No Canadian Dream. With that, welcome in, friends, and happy listening here on Way Back with Johnny over CFRC 119 FM and also www.oshawarocks.com. I'd also like to mention here that during this time that he was off doing retirement, he became very, very patriotic and very, very political. With that, here are 2 examples. Welcome in, friends.
You hear every day how they're going away. I guess they just don't understand. The singer is the voice of the people, and his song is the soul of our land. So singer, please stay and don't go away, with so many words to be said. For a land without song can't stand very long when the voice of its people is dead. Oh, singer, you must search for your place on the earth, while the same for your nation is true. So lift up the soul of your country, and a place will be found here for you. But don't go and run till your song has been sung and the words of your soul have been said. For a land without song can't stand very long when the voice of its people is dead. You may pile up your gold, but the pride of your soul is the small bit of hope you bestow on the children who come this way tomorrow in search of the right way to go. So singers, sing on like the first ray of dawn, with your promise of day just ahead. For the land without song can't stand very long when the voice of its people is dead. Oh, I hear every day how they're going away. I guess they just don't understand. The singer is the voice of the people, and his song is the soul of our land. So singer, please stay and don't go away, with so many words to be said. For a land without song can't stand very long when the voice of its people is dead. When the voice of its people is dead. And the voice of its people is dead. And the voice of its people is dead.
The thing is that they are taking opportunities away from the people who choose to be proud to live in this country and to do their work here.
The music of strangers, they play in our homes and tell us that we don't have songs of our own. They give us no choices and make it quite clear they'll play what they want us to hear. Canadian radio, boy is it grand when you want to hear music from some other land. They tell us to like it and flow with the stream. We have no Canadian dream. There's no Canadian dream, my friends. We have no Canadian dream. The radio blares and the music declares we have no Canadian dream. We hear the American telling his son of the battles he fought and the freedoms he won. He sings about home and the pride that he has, and his son wants to be like his dad. Canadian radio, boy is it grand when you want to hear stories from some other land. They teach us to long for those faraway scenes where there's no Canadian dream. There's no Canadian dream, my friends. We have no Canadian dream. The radio blares and the music declares we have no Canadian dream. No, we've got no cotton and no Uncle Sam. We've got no Texas and no Alabama. From all of our singers we don't hear a sound from St. John's to Vancouver town. We don't write letters, we don't use the phones. We have no petitions to make our cause known. Even our children don't know what it means to dream a Canadian dream. There's no Canadian dream, my friends. We have no Canadian dream. The radio blares and the music declares we have no Canadian dream. We have no Canadian dream.
It seems that because you mention something about our country in a song, all of a sudden these same radio stations I'm referring to say, hey, that's too regional, or that's too Canadian, or that's too something. It doesn't fit our format. It's no good. When you turn a radio on in this country, you hear about every other nation in the world, but you don't hear about this one.
Well, now, friends, moving up into the later years of Stompin' Tom's career, I would like to once again pay tribute to the comeback years, which were 1988, when he came back after retirement for 10 years. With that mentioned, he would record many more albums into his career, but the 1990s would shine some of the most romantic and beautifully written songs of Tom's career. So let's begin way back in 1992, and a classic called Alberta Rose will then follow with two songs from 1995. First of all, Songbird Valley, and we'll follow that with Road to Thunder Bay, and we'll wrap up with a turn of the century song that was his tribute to the Confederation Bridge down there in Prince Edward Island, his home province, and it was simply called Confederation Bridge. With that, I would like to welcome y'all in and also say that these are the comeback years of Stompin' Tom's career. Welcome in, friends, and happy listening.
Alberta means so much to me every time I play. My old guitar, a melody, a song. And Rose, I know you're waiting out Alberta way for me to come back home and settle down. Alberta Rose, I miss you. The ranch, the rolling foothills far away, and the songs of old Alberta, I sing them every day. Rose, I'm coming home to stay. Rose, I hear your name tonight as Alberta lures my soul on the westerlies that whisper in my window. You're home alone and waiting for that sunny day. Well, darling, tell your heart I'm on my way. Alberta Rose, I miss you. The ranch, the rolling foothills far away, and the songs of old Alberta, I sing them every day. Rose, I'm coming home to stay. Alberta Rose, I miss you. The ranch, the rolling foothills far away, and the songs of old Alberta, I sing them every day. Rose, I'm coming home to stay. Rose, I'm coming home to stay. Rose, I'm coming home to stay. Alberta Rose. I got your letter just this morning, where you speak of yesterday, when the mill came to our valley and your old friends moved away. And like the song birds on your paper that were made in the Songbird Mill, they're all gone from Songbird Valley, like the trees from Songbird Hill. Now you say
you'd like to see me, where your home sits in the breeze, among the smells of devastation. We'll renew old memories, but like the songbirds on your paper that were made in the songbird mill, your friends are gone from Songbird Valley, like the trees from Songbird Hill. And I don't care now to remember, 'cause I've never been at ease since the mill came to our valley and destroyed our precious trees. But like the songbirds on your paper that were made in the songbird mill, they're all gone from Songbird Valley, like the trees from Songbird Hill. And the songbirds on your paper that were made in the songbird mill, they won't come back to Songbird Valley, just like me, they never will. Just like me, old friend, they never will. He was standing alone by the highway. I stopped as he climbed into the car. When I asked him how far he'd be going, he just sang to a small blue guitar. I'll meet her tonight at the lakehead. I'll tell her I promise to stay. When I've come to the end of my journey, down this long, lonely road to Thunder Bay. While the shadows of night were descending, I could see in the mirror of the car he had fallen asleep in the back seat, still holding his small blue guitar. But I still heard the words and the music. They stirred me in some quiet way, as I thought of the girl who was waiting down that long, lonely road to Thunder Bay. As I came to the crash on the highway, what I saw really gave my mind a jar. When I learned how a young life had ended for some lad with a small blue guitar, with no need to look in the back seat, I was sure as I drove on my way, this was all just some dream or delusion, down the long, lonely road to Thunder Bay. All at once to my ear there was music. It came from the back seat of the car, and there, like a haze in my mirror, he sang to a small blue guitar. Will you meet her tonight at the lakehead? Will you tell her I'll see her someday? When I've come to the end of my journey, down this long, lonely road to Thunder Bay, will you meet her tonight at the lakehead, and tell her I'll see her someday?
when I've come to the end of my journey down this long, lonely road to Thunder Bay.
Calling, calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling. Friendship is found everywhere.
While Confederation bridges our nation to an island so rich and so rare, I'll be driving Northumberland straight to that wonderland garden that's cradled out there. And I'll bet there's no bridges through high mountain ridges on land or on sea to compare with the Confederation that bridges our nation to Prince Edward Island so fair. And it's calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling, and soon I'll be strolling out there down by the ocean where the island devotion to friendship is found everywhere. And it's calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling, and soon I'll be strolling out there down by the ocean where the island devotion to friendship is found everywhere. While Confederation bridges our nation to an island so rich and so rare, I'll be driving Northumberland straight to that wonderland garden that's cradled out there. And I'll bet there's no bridges from high mountain ridges on land or on sea to compare with the Confederation that bridges our nation to Prince Edward Island so fair. And it's calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling, and soon I'll be strolling out there down by the ocean where the island devotion to friendship is found everywhere. And it's calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling, and soon I'll be strolling out there down by the ocean where the island devotion to friendship is found everywhere. And it's calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling, and soon I'll be strolling out there down by the ocean where the island devotion to friendship is found everywhere. And it's calling, calling me over the blue waters rolling, and soon I'll be strolling out there down by the ocean where the island...
Well, the main thing that I want to say is to all Canadians, I'd like to draw their attention to the fact that the main reason why they themselves are not familiar with an awful lot of song that is being written about our country and about the people in it is because it's not getting played on radio stations.
Now, friends, it is a true honor to welcome another former member of the Stompin' Tom touring band to our program today, and a former bandmate of Stompin' Tom's, Mr. Al Widmeyer. With that mentioned, Al has been a long-time member of the Stompin' Tom band. With that mentioned, I would like to follow this interview with an all-time classic, as he requested I play a Stompin' Tom's called The Owl Can Run. I'd also like to mention that this is one of the songs that Tom recorded, however, I don't believe wrote, but here's my good friend, Al Widmeyer.
Hi, Johnny.
Well, it's a pleasure to be talking to you. So let's go back to when and how it all began. How did you get associated with Tom?
Well, I got associated with Tom was I didn't know him at the time, but it was back in the 70s.
Okay.
With a band called the Dixie Flyers. And we were on Boot Records, which was Tom's label.
Of course, yes.
And we recorded Roses in the Snow, and also Bert and the Boys did a couple of originals that were with his publishing company.
And so, how did you come to work for him then?
Well, I had a lot of friends play with him over the years, guys I played with, Steve Petrie, Darin Parise, Mark LaForme, but I was working a day job I tried to get in that band in 1989 when he came out of retirement, but the job or the position was already filled.
Okay.
And worked a day job for 24 years. I drove a city bus in Kitchener, Ontario.
Oh, okay.
But still played. When Tom would come to town, I'd get together with Steve Petrie and Darin Parise, and we'd get together, and sometimes they'd sneak off and they'd come to my place in Kitchener. And one time they said they were going to be in trouble because they left the tour for a few hours, and I said, well, no problem. I said, here's a little bit of moonshine for you to take to Tom. Oh, you don't like that, because I just got back from the States. I went to a bluegrass festival down there, and I had this extra moonshine, so I sent him a little bottle. He remembered that.
Yes.
And I got a call. It would have been in 2004. I got a call to play on his record. Well, he wanted me to play dobro on his record, and what happened was I was in Nashville at the Spigma Bluegrass Convention. I was down there, and Darin Parise called me. He says, Tom wants you to come up and play on his record. And I said, well, unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. Okay, that was 2004, and that was the Hockey Mom album.
Okay, yes, one of his second to last ones, or third to last ones, yes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so that was 2004. So 2005, Darin was still playing with the band, and he needed a ride to catch up with the tour, and they were staying in Stratford, which is not, I lived in Kitchener, so it wasn't too far. I said,
not too far, exactly.
Yeah, I said, I'll drive you over, but I said, I want to meet Tom. I want to make sure he's there. Or can you make sure he's there? And he goes, yeah, he'll be there. Okay. So anyways, we got to the motel, because Tom always liked motels that you drive up and you go in your room. Like the old style.
Yes. One level type of thing, yes.
One level. That's the ones he likes, because you get truck parked right outside. We parked in front of his room or Darin's room, and there's Tom sitting out having a cigarette and a beer, because there was their day off. Because they had a couple of days off. I said, Darin said, stay here, and I'll go and see if he wants to talk with anybody. Okay, so he goes over. Next thing you know, yep, I'm there, and we get talking, about the Dixie Flyers.
Okay, yeah.
But then get talking about people that I know that. Like my father played with a guy by the name of Claire Adlam back in the day, and my father-in-law played with Claire Adlam also back in the day. And Tom and him were pretty good friends, back in the day too. Started talking about the old times and everything, and next thing you know, he offers me a beer, and I said, sure, I'll have a beer. And so next thing, another one came, and we got talking, and it's about old times and everything, and then we talked about the records, and we talked about the Dixie Flyers, and he said, oh yes. And I asked him, I said, was that true that you're looking at getting the Dixie Flyers to do a tribute album to Stompin Tom? He said, yes, that is correct. I said, that's cool. Well, what happened? He went into retirement, and so it never happened.
Okay.
So he says, have you ever thought of, I told him what I do now, and I said, I just do a bit of playing, but he says, do you ever think about going out playing, again? And I said, yeah, maybe. Well, sure enough, I did. I got a call in the spring of 2006 to go out on tour.
Nice.
So that's how it all started.
I see. And so how many years did you stay with Tom?
I was with him right to the end.
Right to the end. Okay, sure. So you would have recorded with him as well then?
Oh, yes. We toured. Well, I toured with Tom was 2006, and then we had 2007 off, and then 2008 we did the NHL Hockey Awards show, and then we recorded the Ballad of Stompin Tom, that record.
Yes.
Then we went on tour in 2009.
Okay, and then 2011 was more or less his last year of touring.
That was the last tour.
Yeah, I see.
So 2006 we did the East Coast tour.
Okay.
And that was pretty interesting. We played Newfoundland and all the provinces, all the East Coast provinces, and we actually the teacup lady from
Rita McNeil.
No, we were playing in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and she came to the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
So I got to meet her. I was pretty happy to meet her.
Nice. And so what was it like, those road tours? I know you must have stories of Tom.
I do.
Would you share some of them with us?
Well, sure. Tom didn't like going inside to restaurants because he couldn't smoke.
Oh, of course, yes.
Tom smoked over 100 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
And he liked his room temperature moose head.
Okay, yes. Okay.
And the one thing about the room temperature Moosehead was when we were sitting out, he liked the patio. So we'd be sitting out in the patio, and the waitress would come, and she would serve us, and they'd serve Tom. Tom would wear sunglasses and a different hat, so you wouldn't know it's Tom.
Okay, yes, I was going to say, yeah.
He'd say to the waitress, "Have you got any warm beer sitting back there on the floor in your back room?" I said, "Nope." So he said, "Well, give me he would ask, where's one Moosehead? No Moosehead. Okay, then he'd, have you got any golden? No, I haven't got any golden. Okay, well, I'll take a Canadian." But an export, Paulson export.
Okay.
And he said, "Now take that bottle and run her under a hot tap for a couple of minutes."
To make it warm.
And the waitress would really give the kind of a funny look. We all did too when he
exactly, yes. And so he must have. I know the stories go that he would drink up into the mid mornings or whatever, and those parties must have been quite something to be part of too. Al.
Oh yes, well there's the man knew a million jokes.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
I see.
He knew a million jokes. Even though we heard him every year, they were still funny.
Exactly, and this is what his stage presence was. It wasn't just the songs; it was also the entertainment side of it.
He had a couple of. I remember the last couple of tours. He had we thought it was just a joke, and we thought it was funny, but some people kind of didn't really like him,
Yes.
But he did them anyways. It didn't matter because everyone knew he was joking, right?
Exactly. This is it. So, what is your memories of some of those recording sessions with Tom?
Interesting.
Yes.
Well, see, the last record, the Ballad of Stompin Tom was my first record with him.
Yes.
And he basically, it was, in the recording terms, was live off the floor, basically. And then he would add, but the drums and the bass and the guitar and the vocals was live off the floor. And when he sang it once, that was it. There was
no double take then.
There was no double take, and there was no editing the words or the tuners or nothing. It was all natural.
I see, yes.
But then he would bring in, bring in a guitar or two or another instrument, right? When we did...
and overdub it.
Yeah, he'd overdub it.
Yeah, I see.
Kevin Barry song, that old Irish folk song, he brought in actually a pipe drummer.
Oh, wow.
To do the drums in that, yeah.
Now, you also were telling me last summer about a chip of wood that you have in the DVD cases. You wanted him to actually stomp yours. I found that quite interesting, yes.
He said, I already stomped that piece of board. And said, well, mine must have missed it because I didn't have any black on mine. So it was the last day of the tour of North Bay. It was the last day.
Yes.
In Sudbury in 2006. We were playing out an outdoor festival. It was a pile of people there. I think our Mother Peace were the night before.
Oh, wow.
But we were the next night. There was a huge, I'm talking thousands of people at this thing because it's a big event on the lakeshore outside.
Yes.
And so they gave us DVDs.
Yes, of course.
And so inside was a little board, and I said, I got to do this when I was leaving. I left a little early. I said, one thing I want you to do for me, Tom. And he said, what's that? I said, I want you to stop my board. He says, you want me to what? Out with the DVD, take the piece of board out. And he says, you want me to stomp that? I said, I do so. I want to see you do it so I can say that Stompin' Tom did.
Exactly.
So he did. He stomped it, and there's black on it.
So share with us a little bit about what Tom's contribution to country music in Canada is like for you, or being a musician yourself.
Well, it says it all. It speaks of our country, and it speaks of our people.
Exactly.
There's no one else out there doing it. I mean, like, God bless these people that go down to Nashville.
Yes.
And they get their big record contract. They write all their songs down there. They do everything in Nashville. But then they come back to Canada and they say, well, I'm Canadian. I should get that award.
Yeah, this is it.
And that's what Tom was mad about. He didn't like that. He said they should have had another award called the Maple Award instead of Juno Awards because he calls all them people down there Juno jumpers.
Like, that was Tom's motto in life, was to be true to his country.
It was that. It was the guys who wrote songs, Canadian songs, and toured Canada and back and forth from BC all the way out to Newfoundland, who were on the road 6 days, nights a week, and cut their teeth in this country and recorded, but they don't get no recognition until they go down to the United States.
That's it. Yeah.
And they get a big record deal and stuff like that. It just doesn't seem fair.
Tell us about what your thoughts would be on what I know Tom would have something to say about today and what we're going through.
I'm on both sides of the fence.
Yes.
We're not Americans.
No.
And we're never going to be Americans. And
Exactly.
I don't want what's going on down there up here.
Exactly. I hear you.
And, I got friends, and that's all people
We
talk about.
We all have family and friends on both sides, exactly. So it's hard to be biased, but yes, I'm sure he would have a few songs. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, he'd have a few songs, the pandemic, and he'd have lots to write about.
Exactly, and even this transport thing in Ottawa, and he'd have a whole album nowadays.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, we looked like a bunch of idiots when that truck thing went on. I thought, they want freedom. You got freedom. You live in the best country in the country.
Exactly.
In the world. They're complaining, and then they're praising the Donald Trump. Well, you got to stand up for. It doesn't matter if it's right or left. That's
right.
That's my Johnny. I just want people to get along.
Exactly. It's about getting along, and like his last album that came out posthumously or whatever you want to say, Let's Smile Again. So that's
Mm-hmm.
So in wrapping up today, and I'd love to do it again with you sometime and get some more Tom stories from you.
Sure.
But share with us one of your favorite songs of Tom's that I can play for you.
Oh man, you're one of my favorite songs. Well, everybody likes it, but The Bridge Came Tumbling Down is one of my faves.
Yes.
It's always been one of my faves. But one that Tom didn't write is the Alcan Run is one of my.
Okay, yes, that's another good one.
Yeah.
So with that, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and let's do it again sometime.
Yes, well, I'd just like to tell you, and all your people out on the radio, to keep a listen for this summer, because I've been in talks with Mickey Andrews and Mary. Played with when Tom came out of retirement. It was Mickey and Mary and the band, and there's going to be a reunion. There's going to be Billy McGinnis, Mickey and Mary, and myself and Tib Hadley.
Nice.
And it's looking like it's not 100% sure yet, but it looks like it could be something going on in Lindsay on July the 1st.
July the 1st, so Canada Day. Okay.
And we're going to have a reunion type deal.
Okay, well, let's be in touch for that, and I'd love to promote that if you give me more info on it through the email or whatever, Al. Yeah.
I'll give you more info. The guy that is in charge of is David McLean, I believe his name is, and he used to work with Tom with the record company, with EMI, and he was one of their promotion guys, and he got in touch with me, and we're gonna have a little reunion, and then I've got other places now that I've talked to who are interested in having us, so there might be a few shows come up next year.
Well, let's hope, yes, for sure. And it'll be like a tribute or something to Tom, will it?
Oh yes, it'll be a tribute,
good,
and we'll do Canadian stuff, and who knows what's going to happen. It's going to be a good time anyways.
Yes. Well, with that, I want to thank you for telling us about that, and let's say happy birthday to Tom up there in heaven. He's still missed.
Yes, he is missed very much.
Yeah. Take care, Al, and thank you for everything.
Yeah, I hope to see you this summer at one of the festivals.
I drove a rig from coast to coast, but let me tell you, son, I ain't never seen the likes of my first Alcan run. I got my rig in Charlottetown, I drove to Montreal. I laid waste on the DCH to the Rocky Mountain wall. I had heard about the Alcan since I was a kid. I always wanted to make this run and live to say I did. Up one grade and around the other on the Alcan run. From Dawson Creek to Fort Nelson, I made out just fine. But I found out what the Alcan was farther up the line. Old Steamboat Mountain laid ahead, 14 miles of hill. There's everything an old steamboat to test a trucker's skill. I drove to the summit, the snow it did fly, with icicles hanging underneath my rig and dust in my eyes. Up one grade and around the other on the Alcan Run. I drove without chains all the way, though it was against my will. I let her roll a-going down the grade, and I booted her up the hill. From Fort St. John, the White Horse, I learned my lesson well. Before you get to heaven, boys, you gotta drive through hell. From the Yukon through Alaska, in the land of the midnight sun, it's up one grade and around the other on the Alcan Run. Up one grade and around the other on the Alcan Run.
Now, friends, I do hope y'all enjoyed that interview with our good friend Al Widmeyer. Now, once again, it's that time in the program to mention that the final recordings of Stompin' Tom came out during the 2000s leading up to his passing. He would record right up to the year that he passed in 2013, and there have been many rumored songs to be still released, but if they ever will be is anybody's guess. With that mentioned, I like to remember a couple of classics off the 2000s era, and this is about the time that I first began to really get an interest in Stompin' Tom's career. With that mentioned, it's going to be a 2004 song called My Hockey Mum, which would dedicate to all those who play hockey or the parents of those who play hockey. We'll then follow with a song from 2008 and the Ballad of Stompin' Tom album, which was called Chase Me Charlie. And then of course, that sad last album came, and it wasn't a sad album, but it was a sad fact that it would be his last album. And this came out about 6 months before Tom's passing. That was released in 2012 called The Roads of Life. With that, it is going to be an all-time classic called The Tiny Red Light. Welcome in, friends.
When I was young, I do recall, we would go to school in the early fall. But on the days when there was no school, we'd learn to play by a different rule. Get out of that bed, you sleepyhead, my hockey mum would say. Grab your skates and don't be late, there's a hockey game today. And poor old Dad was feeling bad because he couldn't come. He'd have to go to work, and so I took my orders from my hockey mum. And then we'd roll to the rink in town, and I'd hit that ice by falling down. And then I'd score for the other team, and you could hear my mum stand up and scream. Get off of that ice, I told you twice to skate the other way. And every year she bent my ear until I learned to play. And when my stick got pretty quick and the puck to me would come, each time I scored I knew for sure where the loudest cheer was from my hockey mum. And then one day a stranger came from far away, and he took my name. And very soon for the NHL, when I came to play, Mom came to yell. Get on that puck and stir things up, show some winning pride. And every time she said that line, I'd bang that puck inside. And here's my dad, all Mr. Glad, he knew this night would come. We're all lined up for the Stanley Cup, and the tears are rolling from my hockey mum. My hockey mum, ain't she the plum? My hockey mum, my hockey mum, forever young, my hockey mum. Now Charlie was a farmer's son who used to feed the sows, and Mary was a country gal who used to milk the cows. And every time that Mary went with Charlie to the bray, she knew the guy was awful shy and teased him every day. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley in the afternoon. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley by the light of the moon. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley if you catch me soon. You'll be married to me, Charlie, by the 1st of June. Now Charlie to the dance he went to hear the fiddles play, and there was Mary from the dairy dancing cares away. And when she grabbed him by the arm, his face it turned to red. He hollered, "Whoa, let me go," but this is what she said. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley in the afternoon. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley by the light of the moon. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley if you catch me soon. You'll be married to me, Charlie, by the 1st of June. Charlie in the morning went to fetch a load of hay, and there was Mary quite contrary standing in his way. And when she called him rooster face, she knew the deed was done. She up and away to the barley field as fast as she could run. There was Charlie chasing Mary all the afternoon. There was Charlie chasing Mary by the light of the moon. And Mary, Mary, quite contrary, sings a different tune, 'cause she got married to her Charlie, now they're bride and groom. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley in the afternoon. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley by the light of the moon. Chase me, Charlie, through the barley if you catch me soon. You'll be married to me, Charlie, by the 1st of June. And she got married to her Charlie, now they're bride and groom. Oh, come see the lighthouse way up on the hill, built by a man with a pledge to fulfill. He promised to work both by day and by night, in just an old shack with his tiny red light. And from that old lamp he made models for sale, and to every buyer he told a sad tale, how he promised to pay for the beacon so bright, with the money he'd make from each tiny red light. His story began when his wife, she once said, "Bring out the lamp, there's a storm overhead." Her little girl ran with an eager delight, and she placed in the window the tiny red light. But her father from fishing came home wet and cold, angry and cross that his fish were not sold. He said that the oil it must do for the night, and he took from the window the tiny red light. "Oh, father, dear father, don't take it away. It may guide some sailors far out on the bay." And if he had have known what would happen that night, he'd have left in the window the tiny red light. Early next morning came a knock on the door. A sailor stood pointing far out on the shore. With tears in his eyes he told the sad tale, how 3 tiny ships had gone down in the gale. "We followed your tiny red light," said the man, "till it vanished from sight on the rocks our ships ran. Many were drowned on the billows last night, that might have been saved by your tiny red light. And now there's a lighthouse way up on the hill, and we thank the old man for the pledge he fulfilled. and to pay for the oil in his beacon tonight. Dear sir, could you purchase one tiny red light to pay for the oil in his beacon tonight? Dear sir, could you purchase one tiny red light?
I knew very early in my career that there was no way I was going to get people into a hotel door by standing there and singing like the rest of people. I had to do something different. And so let's say the boot and the board got them in the door, because that made people talk. They said, you should come and see this guy ripping boards apart. And the sawdust flies everywhere, and it's into your drink, and it's on your clothes, and it's all over the place, and you can go up and get a matchbox full of sawdust just to prove to people that this happened and all this kind of thing. But the second time they came to see me wasn't to see me bang my boot into the board. It was to hear what I was saying.
Now, friends, you know, I have gone over many clips of interviews over the years during our tributes to Stompin' Tom. And one of my favorite clips is this one here. So I'd like to play it, and then we'll be back to the music following this. Welcome in, friends.
And then, of course, you know, it's my smoking. I can't go in restaurants anymore. It's hard to get motel rooms anymore. And, you know, the smoking thing has become, I've become a second-class citizen, really, in my own country.
Well, yes, friends, once again, it's that time in the program to say so long from the Wayback with Johnny show here on CFRC, www.oshawarocks.com, as well as YouTube. With that mentioned, I would like to pay tribute to Stompin' Tom one last time in his own words of how he would like to be remembered.
What would I want to be remembered as? I think somebody who just wrote a song about what he's seen and what he experienced and what he knew at the time that was happening, wrote about it, and doesn't deserve any more than any other proud Canadian would deserve, and that means all of us, really, just to become Canada conscious.
And now, of course, it's that time to say so long from the Wayback with Johnny show here on CFRC 101.9 FM, www.oshawarocks.com. And I'd also like to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to do this program. Today, a full 3 hours of Stompin' Tom's great classics. With that mentioned, I'd also like to thank his former bandmates, Al Widmeyer, Darin Parise, and also Mickey Andrews for appearing on today's program. And yes, the day, March 6th of 2013 was one of the saddest days for all Canadian country music listeners and fans, as that was the day that Stompin' Tom Connors passed away at the age of 77. It came to many of us unexpectedly, only known to those who were closest to him. He was sent away in a ceremony of life at the Peterborough Memorial Centre in Peterborough, Ontario. And as we say so long today, I would like to play a little clip from that funeral service. Then we'll play the song that he wanted to be remembered for. Over all of his career and all of his songs he had recorded, this is the one song he always wanted to be remembered for, and it is called I Am the Wind. It is engraved on his tombstone up there in Erin, Ontario, where he's laid to rest in the Erin Union Cemetery, and he will forever be remembered for his contribution to Canadian history, and especially music. With that mentioned, let's pay tribute to him one last time as we remember what would have marked the 90th birthday of a true patriot and hero of our land, Stompin' Tom Connors. Then, if there's enough time, we will send it all home with Mike Plume and a song that he also sang at the Stompin' Tom funeral called So Long Stompin' Tom. So with that, may God bless you, Tom, and we still miss you all these years later. And God bless Canada. So long, friends, and happy listening.
From the humblest of beginnings to a great poet of this land, we have learned many great life lessons from this extraordinary man. He sang of our great cities, and the smallest were part of his plan, of the rugged and natural beauty of his so deeply beloved land. He greatly respected our soldiers, and of pride in them he sang, for he knew the price that they have paid for the freedoms enjoyed in his land. He could walk with princes and paupers, and the same of both he would demand, be upright, caring, and honest, and trust the shake of a hand. He worked to help our musicians and artists went hand in hand, and encouraged them to sing their songs in their home and native land. His songs spoke to common people about things they love and understand, like ketchup, potatoes, and tobacco picking, and the struggles of the everyday man. His memory will live on forever through the messages in the songs that he sang, in his wife and sons and daughters, and through the millions of his fans. We will leave this evening's memorial on one thing: united we will stand. Canada is so much a better place because of Stompin' Tom, the legend, the man.
I am the wind, I am the wind, without foe, without friend. I have no home, no cares to tend, all alone. I am the wind, I am the wind, I am the wind. Where I go is where I've been. I'm here today and gone again. On my way, I am the wind, I am the wind, lazy wind, gentle breeze in Lover's Glen, in the awesome tales of fishermen, testing sails. I am the wind, I am the wind, contrary wind, here to serve my Maker's end. I don't believe I've ever sinned. I only know I am the wind, I am the wind, swirling wind, stripping trees at summer's end. But I'm the song of spring again. Right or wrong, I am the wind, I am the wind, eternal wind, around the door between gods and men. And if you see how I go in, you'll have the key and know the wind. You'll have the key, my friend, to know the wind.
So long, Stompin' Tom, I can't believe you're gone. So long, Stompin' Tom, but at least we've got your songs. Like Bud the Spud from the bright red mud and the gumboot cloggeroo. So long, Stompin' Tom, may God take care of you. Me and my wife and kids, we all sing along. Driving around Moncton town, singing the hockey song. We were to it and at it, and we was at it and to it, until we tuned our attitude in. So long, Stompin' Tom, until we meet again. Well, so long, Stompin' Tom, I can't believe you're gone. So long, Stompin' Tom, but at least we've got your songs. Like Margot's got the cargo bay and the old muckaluck shoe. So long, Stompin' Tom, may God take care of you. So many people I've not met, but yet I know by name. Like poor old Ben down in the pen and that gal Red River Jane. Or Potato and Tomato driving to Windsor in their car. And see walking past the pawn shop is Luke with his guitar. Well, so long, Stompin' Tom, I can't believe you're gone. So long, Stompin' Tom, but at least we've got your songs. Like the TTC Skedaddler and Goodbye Rubberhead too. So long, Stompin' Tom, may God take care of you. Well, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, they're all hanging on every word. While you're singing songs of Saskatchewan and tobacco from Tillsonburg. 1,000,000 drunken angels are singing with you tonight. And when you see my mom down in the front row, could you tell her I'm doing alright? And so long, Stompin' Tom, I can't believe you're gone. So long, Stompin' Tom, but at least we've got your songs. Like Big Joe Mufferaw and Sudbury Saturday Night. So long, Stompin' Tom, may you rest in peace tonight. So long, Stompin' Tom, may you rest in peace tonight.
What better stamp of approval could anyone receive from the people of the nation that one sings about? When you come up from the ranks of the street people and receive this kind of recognition, it leaves a great deal of hope in the hearts of those that are still less fortunate. When they see one of their own succeed, it often causes some of them to see that perseverance is still a virtue and that our dreams are still a worthwhile pursuit.
Another show is over, another day gone by, with good friends all around me. How the time do fly.
Howdy, friends and listeners. This here is your old host with most, Johnny Whitlock, reporting for Wayback with Johnny over this great channel. The previous show does not represent anything associated with the channel heard on. It is the sole associate of Woodlock Ranch Studios, Cornwall, Ontario. With that, have a great day, and we'll catch y'all next week. So long, friends.
It's hard to find the words I want to say, but friends, I'll try. God bless you all and keep you till we meet again. Goodbye.